Well, hello my friends, thank you so much for joining me. I'm just getting live now. If I was able to hit the correct button. How's it going, everybody? Are you all here? Can you all see me? Let me know if I've got the correct screen up, because I'm not 100% sure if I actually do. I tell you what though, this would be a better screen to have on perhaps for this little bit of the show. Thanks so much for joining me, really do appreciate it. So, my name is Rocky Outcrop. If you don't know who I am and you're just joining me for the first time, then welcome to the family. We do technical analysis here on a daily basis for cryptocurrencies. We're talking Bitcoin and Ethereum, Chainlink and Tezos, and then suggested ones from the community. And I really do appreciate you joining me. And you might notice this little bit of hair I've got sticking out the side of my head, actually, just here. And I think that fits quite nicely because I have in my new profile picture on YouTube, you'll be able to see that I have changed it up from being the logo to being my face. Anyway, just going for a little bit of a change there. I hope y'all like it. Thanks so much for joining me. If you hit that like button, then of course you're a hero. Anybody who hasn't subscribed can look forward to seeing their name appear on screen with the whole latest subscriber animation thing. And let's then dive over to that charting screen thing. What we're going to be doing here in this episode for everybody who is interested to know the sort of planned contents is we're going to be talking about this pullback that's happened, right? We've got to talk about that. It's hardly an elephant in the room. It's what everybody is talking about, right? This big pullback, is this going to be... Oh, my jazzy lights are off. My jazzy lights are on. I'm just sitting in front of them. Thanks for that, by the way, Tradespawn. I was having a bit of a technical issue. Technical issues coming out my ears here at the minute. Anyway, yeah, is this pullback a pullback, and then we're going to just go on and continue the upward trend, or are we looking at a potential trend reversal point here? So let's try and kind of narrow down those questions into something which may constitute something of an answer. Let's just go for it. Hiya, Cheeky Cops says... Scotty Sniper, thanks so much for joining us, Scotty Sniper. By the way, welcome to everybody here. Good to see you again, Kevin. That's KDoc for everybody who's interested in the chat. Good to see you, Susan. Good to see you, Kevin. That's Kevin King, K King. So we've got two Kevins. Maybe it's best to use their nicknames. And of course, Scotty Sniper. Thanks so much. So we have a couple of suggestions in terms of coins to buy coming in there from Kevin just now in the chit chat. Be sure to say hello in there to me if you're in watching the video so that I can say hello back to you. SNX Curve DAO apparently on sale right now, and then Scotty Sniper just chipped in with Cream is saving my bags today, just merged with Yearn Finance. Just merged with Yearn Finance. I think that sentence there, just merged with Yearn Finance, is something that everybody who has been listening to me in the Discord and stuff like that recently will be excited to see. Hi Rocky, says Zoner. Hi Zoner, good to have you here. So what am I talking about in terms of the Discord there? What would people be saying about that comment that Scotty Sniper just put on? Well, what did I say about 6 months ago or so? The next big thing in cryptocurrency is going to be mergers and acquisitions. Well, if it's just happened, if that's the first one, the first proper one, then interesting that. I expect to see a lot more of that, by the way. And you know what that actually is? It's whenever people in economies, you have kind of two phases. You've got expansion and contraction, and you'll find a lot of mergers and acquisitions happen at either of those two times, really. But at the peaks of them, you're going to have big companies wanting to capture more market share, buying over other big ones, and then during times of the markets moving down the way, you're going to see companies buying over their less profitable competitors, and that's what we're going to see with chains on the blockchain as well. I'm sure of it. So Cream and YFI have merged. Interesting stuff. I wonder what that does to the whole tokenomics. You can let us all know in the chat box. Thanks so much for everybody for bringing for letting me know about things like is that TradeSpawn just did there now, with the volume being a little bit too high on the old microphone there and it crackling. So hope that I've just moved it down a smidge. Hope that's better. Dom Underhill says hola Dom, nice to have you here. Nice to have every single person here, by the way. If you could all hit that like button, just make sure that the YouTube gods know that we're praying appropriately. You know how it is. And you'll be wondering then, no doubt, what is that crazy looking apple with a apple? Is this an apple with a flag in it or something? What is this drawing that I have on the charts behind me? And well, I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I was just after making a static video to publish on YouTube, like the majority of the videos that I've put on. Yearn's absorbing a lot of the yield tokens, says Kevin. So there we go, it's happening. The ball is rolling, fellas and gentle ladies. Yeah, so I was just after making a video, and I got to the end of it, and I was kind of giving myself a sort of pat on the back. It was 22 minutes long, and despite that, I'd actually tried to make it really, really good. And I thought, wow, that's 22 minutes of extra good value for people who want to watch this. They're going to go away knowing exactly what's happening in the world. Unfortunately, well, my microphone was turned off, so I had to make it again. And I thought, well, instead of making it again, I'll just go live, because the internet did seem to be working good enough. So figured I'd do that. I'm sorry, TradeSpawn. I'm going to have to figure this out then sometime when I'm offline or whatever, because I don't know why it'd be crackling. Maybe I do have an idea why it'd be crackling, actually. Let me just try and fix this here, and you can chat amongst yourself for just a second as I try and figure out this thing here. Volume there. So if I bring this down a wee bit over here on this volume, put that to say 75. I'll do 75 on the internal guy. Close that over. Bring this up a bit. And let's see if it still crackles and if that's a good volume for you. So let me know how that worked out. That was a little maybe worthwhile change. So what actually happened then in that video, why I was patting myself on the back and thinking that it was a pretty good one, was because what I'd done with yous at the time, so to speak, in the video, was go through the recent highs that we've just had on the charts, compare them to the historical ones, make a couple of little interesting points about how they line up across different charts, stuff like that, and then look at this downward movement and we've seen. Thanks very much for letting me know, guys. Very much appreciate it. Thanks so much in the comments there. Yeah, and what we've seen is that the prices have crashed on down the way since, and we need to put these two events into context. Okay, we need to put our previous high into context, know what led into that event of the market going down the way, how high we'd actually got. And then as well, how far we've come since then. I was able to do that in the show and leave you with this knowledge, right? Then at the end of it, I went over towards Ethereum. So it lasted 22 minutes in total. So the last 5 minutes max, probably we're talking about Ethereum and applying all the same sort of chat to the Ethereum charts. Oh my God, it was magic, and you'd have learned so much. But it's a thing of the past now, and the microphone was not turned on, so just have to move on with our lives, right? And that involves moving away this chat. But what I did try and draw in here, and I know it's illegible, is 17K, 18K, and 15.5k are the three areas that you're looking to for 17k, 16k, and 15.5. If I said 18 there, I meant to say 15. My brain's telling me that I said the wrong thing. Then those are the three areas that we can look to for a turnaround. And I see, of course, now 15.5. That's another $1,000 down from where we are now, right? Another $1,000. But still, you could still remain positive in terms of the market, really, even if we did go down that next 1,000, right? The overall trend remains towards the top side. However, things, of course, bring on more and more and more. There's more and more information will be brought to the table by the point if we do actually go down there. Now, towards the top side, we're looking to take out this 17k area before we can really start to kind of get enthusiastic about cracking on up the way. Of course, naturally, looking at 16 and saying that it'd be handy if that was support just now. So let's put everything back into context again and kind of run through what I was talking about before. And the way I'll do that is by removing all of these moving averages and including the volume off the chart here, because there's a few little dynamics that I want to bring to the fore people's attention. Then I'm going to go back over to the comments and catch up with y'all. So make sure you bang all your comments in there, because I'll be listening to them with my eyeballs. Yes, by the way, Kevin, who I can see you talking in there, what was the issue with having yesterday? It was just the internet was just being crap. You know how sometimes you try and do something and the only thing that seems to work is your text messages and everything else just seems to be going like rubbish. I guess what it was the UK government trying to stop anyone from getting online and buying or selling their Bitcoin or something like that. Lols. Right, so first off, okay, let's do a little quick comparison here between the highs, right? Just because this area here, where we put in our highs, of course, that's the 15-minute time frame. Whoops, confused myself there. It doesn't look too dissimilar on the 24-hour time frame when you're zoomed in properly. There we go, that's not too dissimilar. This area here where we put in our highs, how does that stack up compared to the past and where we came in at? Well, there's a couple of ways we can do this easily. Some of these will overlap, actually, unfortunately, because of course I've already made this episode, but I'll just do it again. Oh, I've deleted them, that's good. So let's tick in here where our bodies were and tick in here where our high wick was in terms of the that's where that Fibonacci line is, in terms of the two areas where we saw the prices going up to. So this is where we saw the prices get up as high as and close, so that's our highest close, and that's where is as high as they've traded at. Compare them to where we were with our previous all-time highs, right? And we can do this on a couple of different exchanges, but the main areas that we're going to look to in terms of the differential is going to come down to, of course, looking at the CMEs versus kind of your generic spot markets. So this is one of them at the minute that I'm looking at. This is Bitstamp, and this is pretty good chart in terms of its historical information. So you can see those two lines where they come in from, right? I hope you're all following along with me nicely, and let me try and go back quickly. Here we are. Didn't take too long to go back a few years there. And as you can see, actually I just hid the whole replay thing. I did loads of good stuff. I even did a wee replay and everything. Oh my god, that episode but this is just a tribute, as they say. Anyway, as you can see, look at this then. So our close came in. Now we're going to actually have to zoom this in a wee bit just so you can see in terms of Bitstamp what we're dealing with here. We didn't close higher than we had closed in the past, and by my lordy wordy wordsmith, we were close. All we really needed to see happen was a close up above 19,200 or so on this particular exchange to have achieved that. Now, in terms of the wicks as well, we didn't quite take that out. Let me just jump over to another chart here and make another little comparison, because you could do the same thing perhaps with BitMEX. Now, we know that BitMEX is a bit more crazy with regards to... Whoa, I know that that's going all over the place, isn't it, when I zoom around. BitMEX is a bit more crazy with regards to the old prices, but let's just do the same thing again and make this comparison, because it's good to know where we stand, right, and have it cleared off across a couple of different exchanges. That one doesn't line up quite perfectly. Let me just line up a bit more perfecter. Right. And here we go on over again, and you can see, right, this is not going to be a surprise to you. Same story, but it's a little bit more distinct. On Bitstamp there, we were really close to getting that. Here on BitMEX, not so much, okay, and we can see that the wicks didn't come up any higher than any of our previous wicks as well. Let's just bring it on one more exchange as well, so we don't need to spend all day doing this thing, but just to give you the idea so that we can see. Now this is Coinbase, so we've really kind of covered the biggest sort of areas, and I've already got those two lines in here. How handy is that if I go back the way, and you can see then how we operated with regards to our high and our body closing. Same dealio here. Okay, so now we know where that was. Let's make a quick comparison over here to the CME chart and see where we have those highs and lows coming in at. So that's 2019? Yes, of course. Easy to recognize given that it wasn't the start of the charting history on this thing. I have two lines drawn in here already. This one's a little bit shallow. in terms of where we got to. So let's just do this comparison. Now let me know as well in the comments below if you've done this comparison yourself. It's probably worth doing, just so you know, because otherwise you're taking somebody's word for it in terms of how high did we get. What do you expect to see when I go back to the CME charts and we talk about this? Did we take out our highs ever with that? Did we take out any of our body closes? What do you think? What do you think with regards to that? Let me know. Time for guessing has run out. Oh, I've just moved that. That's obviously something that of some note at some point that I wanted to have, so I'll put it back. Right, it was the two top green serrated lines that we were looking at there, and there is something interesting to be said here. Ignore these two lower ones, is these two top ones. This was as high as the prices wicked up to, and it went higher than we ever actually traded up to on CMEs. Okay, it went higher than we ever traded up to. That's a slight difference. Okay, it went higher than we ever traded up to. It didn't go higher than it had been traded on, because when the prices opened up on this thing, they just collapsed, right? But then we closed out on that day, opened up here, and traded up the way, and we actually traded higher than that. So there's something significant in terms of the wicks, and in terms of the body closes then as well. Look at this second higher green line here. This is where we saw the close. Now that is higher than any close we've ever had on the CMEs. In some senses, you could say that we've just experienced some all-time highs in some ways, okay? But all of this just speaks to the trend. We haven't actually done that by virtue of the fact, of course, where we can see this opening up. I don't want to go down to the 1 hour. If I could do that, then I have to fiddle about for ages to show you how it all went. But basically, what I'm saying there is the case. And that's interesting, right, in and of itself. And I think that speaks fair enough to trend. So we know as far as where we've come from, and we know that it's been really high. We also know that we were due a pullback, and it's quite easy to see numerous things to do with this. If I bring up some oscillators, for example, we can see that there is distinct bearish divergence here on the way up towards the top on both the 24-hour and the 4-hour chart here, with our most recent high was lower than the previous one, and down there on the 4-hour as well. And that is, of course, represented across all of the exchanges and all the rest of it as well. So we know that that's the case. We were kind of looking at it and saying, could be something coming up. We also knew as well about the distance that we'd come. Now, the distance we'd come up towards these highs was the 2.24 Fibonacci retracement. If I zoom out to the 24-hour time frame so I can show you easier, between the retracement we had in February at the highs when things were quite exuberant, down towards the lows we had in March with that COVID crash when things were quite gloomy. And between them, up towards the 1618 and the 2.24, 2.7 actually is probably what I would have actually preferred to use myself. I was just using 2.24 because that's what Scott Carney likes. I don't know why I would be using the 2. Anyway, whatever. And we came up towards that zone and then pulled back down again. So we had anticipated this from a harmonics perspective with that shark pattern. No surprises there. So where have we come then in that sense? Where have we come back down as far as? And we've got some Fibonacci's that we could use on here to give us an idea about that. But let's just go over to this chart where I've already got some, which are handier. Right, so in terms of where we've come from since our high to where we are now, there's a couple of interesting things that we can see. If I was able to, for some reason I'm having real difficulties with controlling my zoom levels today. There's a couple of areas you can see. Excuse my sort of Chinese looking writing now on the screen. This was obviously from me wrapping up the previous failed attempt at making this. By the way, if you're just joining me, looking at Bitcoin just now, talking about what we're seeing in terms of this pullback. Love it if you hit the like button and try and make it so that YouTube wants to share this video with more people. Thanks so much for joining me. If you're new here, welcome to the family. And I'm Rocky Outcrop. Everybody here is an absolute star, so introduce yourself. I'll give you a shout out, all that good stuff. Thanks for joining me. And what we can see here is that this pullback, we've come all the way down towards, as you can see, I've drawn this in. Before we actually get really excited, you're looking there at that 17k level. That's why I had that drawn in before, where we can see, of course, the 16990 is where the 236 Fibonacci retracement is on this one. And until we've taken that out, we've not really done any sort of change in terms of this movement down the way. This is an invalid Fibonacci retracement, if you like. And there's a couple other things that we can shove on here as well to give us some more context with regards to these levels as well here on the different time frames. But just looking down the way with regards to this 50% area, that's in there at the daily 8 period moving average. The 236 coming in there around about that 38 the 236 coming in at around about the 18 exponential moving average. On the way down, you can see that these have crossed over. It's only on the 1 hour time frame that we see them fully spanned out in a bearish way. Now, there's an interesting thing having happened just here, in which we can see is that we're just about to have a cross, a death cross, if you like, on the 200 simple being crossed down the way by the 50 simple on the 1 hour time frame. So going back the way, when was the last time we saw this happen? Just to put things into context, of course, for us, and you'll see that even though we're on the 1 hour time frame, it hasn't actually happened since all the way back here in October the 19th. You know, this is a 1 hour time frame, so that's quite a distance to go. It was short-lived then. Going back the way, then it was also here, but very short-lived as well. And going back the way, we can see blah, 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 blah. The point being that what we're looking for, if this does cross over, is for it to be short-lived, okay? All good stuff, don't worry about it. If it does cross, because it's almost an inevitability now, we'd have to see prices resurge back up the way up towards 18,560 in the next hour or two to stop them from uncrossing. So they're going to. The question becomes at this point, will we see a test of the 50 and the 100 as well, as we are so often want to do? And we can see in the past that, of course, this happens, and after crosses especially it happens. So that's what we're looking to, and if those do cross around, what sort of time frames are we seeing that happen on? Now, in terms of the 4 hour time frame, we can see that we have a downward slope in all these moving averages, and the 50 and the 50 simple and 200 are starting to look like they maybe could start to kind of change their trajectory. The 50 has, the 200 starts to look like it maybe could, but of course it's just, you know, a long way to go. Until such times as you've actually taken out the 200, then things are not all that scary, and that comes in at that 15,500 figure that I had on the start of the show as well. And then of course the 16,000 area itself is lining up with, if I just kind of go back up to the 24 hour time frame, can I find some things that I want to show you in terms of the retracements? Where does the one line on this come in at? Just let me make sure, because I don't have the one drawn in all the time. Just make sure so you can see it at home. Yeah, so the 236 on the lows, and this is going from wick to wick as well, so we're talking very much the extremes up to a wick which is very, very small. But the lows on this, the 236 comes in there at 15,978. If you really wanted to know, by the way, in terms of just roughly where the bodies would make that come in at, you're looking at 16,000 as well. But 15,800 up towards that 16,000 area is your next sort of goal in terms of the downside movements if we're looking for further movements towards that downward direction. And what else is there to talk about? Oh yes, of course, there's plenty of things. There's plenty of things. I mean, in my first episode, the issue here slightly, of course, is that I'm trying to repeat what I'd done earlier. And I'm coming back over to the chat in a couple of minutes now. Thanks so much across Canada for tuning in. Tony Quaz, good to see you. Steve DC, of course, Zonar said hi to you a wee while ago already. And Danny Morgan, good to have you all here. So good to have you, good to see you. Hit that like button, I really do appreciate it. If you're just joining us and you haven't hit that subscribe button, then do it, because we'll see your name appear on screen. It'll be a good laugh. Right, anyhow, yeah, what I wanted to show you was in terms of the volume, right? So, volume, let's do this, and we'll do it the other way around. We did it at CMEs and then over to the other charts. Let's look in terms of volume and ask you to tell me what you think of the volume here. Now, this is a big movement down. This candle is significantly larger than it is than any candle from for a long way back. This is on logarithmic as well, by the way. Take it off logarithmic, then you can see just even more. This is the biggest candle that we've had in terms of 24-hour time frame since the crash over here in March, right? I think I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that. Biggest one since the crash in March. Significant stuff. What do we think about the volume then when I pop it on? What are you expecting to see? Well, you certainly would imagine that you weren't expecting to see the volume being lower than it was over here in these dinky wee candles towards the top side, and that overall, you know, this is a little bit of a curiosity, wouldn't you say? Now, if we go down towards the small time frames, we can indeed see that the volume is picking up as the price has been going down, and that's interesting. But you can see this dearth of volume, relatively speaking, in terms of the big candle movements down below. And that kind of signals to me, in a sense, one of two things. Either the CMEs, you know, they'd looked at this, people who trade there are far more professional, they'd analysed out and they thought, we're not going to actually be the people that eat the volume in terms of this, so we'll just actually let the spot prices eat all of that themselves, and we'll come in later. So maybe there's a delay in terms of this volume happening, or maybe, you know, we're looking at that and saying that this isn't you know, spectacular volume to really be worried about in terms of, say, for instance, stopping volume, as Peter Brandt likes to call it, towards in terms of this upward trend. If we look back the way as well, we can see, comparatively speaking, the crash we had in August, September time was much bigger volume-wise than what we're seeing so far, right? It can go either way, though. It means that, of course, there's still plenty of ammo left in the gun, or maybe we're not seeing that. Interesting stuff, right? Oh, crap. Thanks, Kevin. You said my comment box not working on screen. So it isn't. Thanks so much for that. Is there a reason for that, I wonder? Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for letting me know. It's behind everything? Is that what I've done? Hopefully I've just put it behind everything. I don't know. Where is it? Where is it? That's the chat box. Chat box not working. How rubbish is that, by the way? Right, yeah, it's not working on screen. Going to have to come back to it in a second. That's frustrating. Believe me, I'm reading all your chat. I'll tell you what, I'll just hide it all for now since it's not working, and I'll come back and try and look at that in a second. But at least you've got more screen real estate, right? Thanks so much for letting me know about that, Kevin. Of course, technical difficulties seem to be, they're coming in threes. Hopefully that's my third one, and I'm now clear to go. Yeah, so what we're talking about, volume. Yeah, not big deal. Right, okay, well, that's good that you said that, and we got that all covered, right? Let's then go over to the spot prices and kind of re-establish what we're thinking there, because you can very much see that on every single one of these spot charts, now bearing in mind we're talking about this last volume candle, could zoom on a bit in so you can see what we're talking about. This is a 24-hour time frame. You can see it's very much bigger than any of the candles we've had in November. You have to go back to October to find one which was bigger, and it was that rise up that we had over there. Let's do the same thing over here on, it's too ugly to look at, just take my word for it. You can see here this is actually almost looking like the wedge we had on the chart is kind of showing you that trend line on the volume. That's purely coincidental, but it works very nicely. You can see the 200 simple moving average here giving us that same effect. Over here, huge volume candle, right, compared to all of these previous ones. What about that October one? Whoa, way bigger than that October one. Big volume here. So the buyers over there, in terms of people putting up support for the price on Bitfinex, were much more stupid, if you like, than the buyers over here, relatively speaking, perhaps on well, I don't want to say that. Coinbase buyers seem to be just as stupid. There are certainly less stupid buyers and that in here on the CMEs, that trade-in area, than there was in terms of these other places, and when you look at when the volume came back in again. And I found that to be very curious and worth mentioning. Every single person that's participating on these markets, like Bybit, like Gemini, like Coinbase, like BitMEX, like Bitstamp, all very much making mistakes, and it's very clearly seen in the volume candle. Buyers over here that are much more professional, buyers and sellers, much less mistakes to be had. What does that speak to the trend for you? I wonder, in terms of that, I'd love to know. Right, that's cool. That's kind of more or less good enough in terms of the analysis for what we need to talk about to say that, hey, look, there's some tangible substance to this video, right? There's something there that you can actually say, hey, look, I benefited from watching that. Brilliant, good, glad, feel like I've got that kind of off my chest. Let's jump into the chat and see how you're all getting on. Now, I am aware as well, to anybody who's just joined me, the chat box isn't working at the minute for this stream. Going to get it working, going to make it work, going to make it work. If it's the last thing I do, don't worry, but whether I do that in this stream or not is another thing. Right, cool. Hit like people says trade spotting, and of course, yeah, thanks. Hit like people, absolutely. 30 to 40% is natural, so I'm not concerned. That's cool, says says Kevin with regards to the drop down, and you're right, not to be concerned in terms of that, and it is natural. We've kind of been expecting this. Cool, nice one. We also see that there's messages in here from people like Tony Quaz wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving to you, man. So great, thanks very much. Really do appreciate that. I don't get said that to me very often over here in the UK, because we didn't interact with any of the Indians over there. We waited a wee while and then went and got our own Indians from India in the UK. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit of sort of satire for us. Okay, yeah, the volume is huge too. There's Tony Quaz talking about the volume. Well, I don't know if it was seeing that in the corner of my eye. What's your take on XLM? The volume is huge too. Don't think I saw you saying that at the time, Tony, but then we went on to talk about it. Interesting dynamic in the volume, wouldn't you say? What's your take on XLM, says Tony. Well, yeah, oh, by the way, it's interesting. We can take a look at that in a wee bit. Going to keep it slightly short. I'm not going to do a 4-hour stream today, but we can take a wee look. XRP and Ripple both haven't done really, really well. Both haven't had big pullbacks. Ripple looking at 35% pullback. Is that enough? It is. Just like Kevin says, we start seeing Ripple price pullback more than 35%, 40, 45, 50%. 50% would be as much as you'd go before you'd be able to say that you're not crazy for starting to short it. Did you just say that you are going to give me a share? I don't know. Maybe I did. Who knows? Danny Morgan says, what have I missed? Lol. I don't know, Danny. I was talking, so I didn't catch it. Tracepawn, let's get the likes up a bit. Thanks very much for support. Very much to you there, matey. Great. Thanks so much for the support, Tony. Really love it. Crypto God, didn't see you coming into the chat earlier on. Thanks so much for joining us. Hit that like button. Really do appreciate you being here. Derek Young, quality retracement to 12k possible. Lots of people expecting to buy back in lower in hopes of increasing position, I think. Well, you're definitely not wrong. I mean, it's not like that's some sort of conspiracy. That's just the way it is in every single trend on every single asset that's traded in the world and always has been for all time. You know, that's the way that people think about things. If it's trending towards the top side, they think, I'm going to wait for it to pull back and then I'm going to buy back in what level I want to get back in at. And this was kind of pertains to that discussion that we were having in terms of smart traders, not smart traders, with regards to, you know, here where you see huge volume, having people bought it all the way down. Thanks so much for filling my bags, said everybody that was shorting it to them all the way down there. You filled my bag, I needed that liquidity. Over here, not much as much liquidity provided to people. You got to wonder about the dynamic there with that one. Bounce off blue. Possibly, you know, here we have the blue line here, bounce off that, you know, there, you're right. Impatas, oh great to have you here, by the way. Thanks very much. Cade Melifalcha, thanks for joining me on the stream. I'm not at all convinced we're going back into a bear market. Yeah, cool, exactly. We'd have to see certain things happen. Now what is clear from a kind of fairly broad perspective, now this isn't the broadest of perspectives, let me just put this on a chart with less crap on it. Over here, right? So we've got two big Fibonacci's here. One, we're above this 15,798 area, not by a massive amount when you consider that $1,000 is less than 10% at these days. You know, so we're above that. That's very good. And I would say that in terms of this trend that we've had since March for the last 6 months, that you're very much correct on that front. But what if we take in some important areas from the recent past and just put the rest of this into context? Because it's fair to say that this was a very interesting area on the 7th of November and that this was a very interesting area on the 22nd of October. Bearing in mind that the bigger the distance between these, the further away the 236 will be. So how about we take this inflection point from that last big candle, which actually really looked like, you know, an important time for us in the market, and this was, by the way, there's a lot of reasons for it. If we take it from here with this Fibonacci and draw it up to where we find ourselves right now, where's the 236 come in at? And that's at 17,884. Big deal, you know, big difference from where we are. Therefore, you can look down to these other targets, and did we get down there? Well, maybe close enough is close enough with regards to this movement down towards that 16k level that we spoke about as being crucial for us at that 50% area for a turnaround if you're going to be doing Dow theory in terms of this movement up the way just here, you know. And then there's various other things. Since we've gone past that, you could reasonably anticipate a move down towards 15k. The dynamics that brings in here means we're pushing past that 15.5k area, and we're looking at a different story. At that point, you start thinking to yourself, why on earth are you even using that Fibonacci from there, Rocky? And you know, and maybe we should have been talking about how we've come really close to the 618 here in terms of this most latest retrace area. Let me just make the 618 itself visible so you can see that actually, you know, we've done a 618 golden pocket retrace since the very important area from November, and I'd be inclined to agree with you. But of course, past that point there of the 15k means that we've taken out the 236 from the bigger trend area, right? So going down to this golden pocket area here means we've taken out the 236, and that is of course off of the daddy-o down there, and that is highly significant. Now you could do that analysis the whole way down if you wanted to. I think I've more or less given you the tools to carry that forward if you want to, but that's certainly something to be concerned about. Anyway, I'm going to have to scroll down a wee bit and catch and sort of miss a couple of messages. Really apologies. I will read every single one of them, by the way, after the chat. I love doing that because I want to see if I've missed any. Did it after the last videos as well. So you're not going to have your message missed, by the way, but you know, in terms of actually being able to sort of conversate with you, let me just look back at the chat here, and I can see there's some other people that have joined. Crypto God, thank you. I think maybe I said hi to you earlier, but thanks so much. Can you go to 5-minute chart for the W forming? Oh, sorry, yeah, brilliant. It's a shame I didn't do that earlier. Look at this W pattern that we're talking about here. Well, I suppose we want to be looking at the sort of this inflection area for it. If we can push past the 6779, then perhaps we can come back up, and we want to be challenging up here at that 17k area, where of course it's of no surprise to see this other 16,990,236 coming in from that downward area. And if we push past that, then looking towards the 200 simple here on the 5-minute time frame would be reasonable in terms of the target off of this. You could also draw a measured move in, but just eyeballing it. Interesting stuff. Leave it on the 5-minute here for us as we kind of catch up with the chat. Thanks for that idea. Good stuff. And presumably this is the W that you're talking about there, of course. Shout out to Derek Young. I'm not sure if I said that to you. Oh, I did already. Yeah, cheers. Impatas, Horn Hunter, great to have you here. Danny Morgan, great to have you here. We needed a big pullback of the Bitcoin foreskin to blast the load. Fair enough. WSC Cloth, WS Cloth, good to have you, Cloth, here. WS Clough, Sheffield Wednesday. Is that Wednesday, Sheffield? Nottingham Forest was Clough, wasn't he? No, it must just be your name. Great. Cheers for joining us. Hit that like button. Thanks so much. Great to have you here. The market is a large theatre with a small door. Nice. Poetic. Did you say that? Is that one of yours? I wonder where that came from. Mike Piani, great to have you back again, buddy. Good to see you again. Flash loans have been a hot topic over the past week or so, cautionary articles, etc. Well, you know as well, we are now officially, as according to the Chancellor Exchequer in the UK, in the worst economic conditions for the last 300 years. Bearing in mind that it's actually of historical, significance that we even have records that go back that far. The UK has not been is now in more debt than it has been since the First World War. It took that much money on to fight the World War. It's not just sort of retail about sort of looking about flash loans recently. It's governments around the world. Going to have to scroll down a wee bit. Hey, nice to see you, Dom Underhill. Thanks for having you here. If I didn't already say hi to you, I want to say hi to everybody that joins. So just making sure that I do, and I'll catch up with the most recent of chats that's coming in here. So I think BTC will bounce back on Monday afternoon. Says Horn Hunter. Well, cool. He's a hunter for the horn though, so who knows how crazy or wise that guy is. Esoteric chat about the Wheel of Time there for people. I might actually start, by the way, let me know if you're interested, a Wheel of Time discussion channel on YouTube. Yes, I know, rather esoteric, quite nerdy, geeky stuff, but maybe I'd be into that because it's got a TV show coming out maybe next year, so it might be a good thing to do. Anyway, got more chat coming in here as well from people talking about how it could be a rising channel, stuff like that, and interestingly, it could we could be. Are you talking about this here in terms of the? You're talking about this here in terms of being a rising channel. I mean, you're very early days to say as a channel. There's plenty of stuff going on here. 5-minute chart, brilliant. You never run out of food for thought on the 5-minute chart. Great, nice to have you here, everybody. Who, if I haven't said that to you, including my most latest person here, XRP is gold. Steve, XRP just flipped bullish. Cool. Let's take a look at that then. And then we'll do sort of 5 minutes. What time frame? Yes, good question from TradeSpot asking there in the chat, and I'm interested in knowing too. What time frame are you talking about, so that we can kind of put our eyes on it. The XRP turtle is on the rise, says Impatas. So there's a couple of people thinking about XRPs. Let's take a McLookenspiel. Thanks, by the way, to everybody who's putting in the comments. It's been great. It's always great crack reading these through on the live messages. In the recorded video that I was doing here, the aborted one, that I was saying, please leave your comments because I really enjoy reading them. After in the video below. But of course, for the live video, you get much more comments from people chatting about stuff. It's much more fun. This is XRP to the BTCs. Are we talking about XRP to the BTCs or XRP to the USDs? Let's have a little bit of this. Look at this about in terms of the chat, right? I just said up towards the 200 simple would be a reasonable target there for Bitcoin. XRP has done that on this 5-minute chart. How about we just let this be Rudolph for us just now? With your nose so bright, won't you guide the sled tonight? So maybe we can see if this here gives us a little bit of insight. That's amazing, says Crypto God. Well, that's what we do here. Amaze people. And that's why you hear all the sirens going off all the time. It's the police are going around looking for me, but they can't find me, but they want to take me down because I'm so impressive. Howdy doing, Nav and Ethan? It's good to have you here, by the way, buddy, as ever. I'm I'm interested in seeing how this interacts with this moving average. Now, of course, moving averages are a function of the average of the price. It's not like people are necessarily staring at this chart at the same time as us, but there's always good idea as well to look across a couple of different time frames and see, what we're looking at in terms of different moving averages and the interaction between them. So on the 2 hour, we're looking at coming up towards that 8 period there. On the 4 hour or 3 hour, where it gets a bit more interesting because you can see the crosses happening, the 4 hour is going to be more interesting on this one. I mean, are we going to be supported by the 56? Obviously, the price being above this prevents the near time, the most recent moving average from being able to cross towards the downside on it, or not. And it's the same dealio with Bitcoin as well, right? In terms of moving averages, we're asking the same questions, not in terms of support underneath the 56, but are we going to see, pardon me, all of these moving averages cross down the way and form out in a bullish or a bearish, fanned out formation here, as we can see in terms of Bitcoin. So anyway, let's just dive back on over to XRP, see how it's been getting on with that 200 simple moving average on the 5-minute time frame, and then dive back over to Bitcoin thereafter. So we're taking it out currently. Can we look at Ripple and ask the question, at least in terms of the short-term time frame, will you sustain any moves up above this moving average? Now, this moving average just happens to be here. Let's take instead something else to put this into context. I know 5-minute time frame, right? Mad. Okay, but here we are and we're on it. We're doing it because we're live together, ladies and gentlemen, looking at XRP blasting off towards the top side. Now, that 200 simple, in terms of this 5-minute time frame, what did it have confluence with here in terms of this Fibonacci retracement drew on there? The 236. What do we say about Fibonacci retracements? They're not valid until you've taken out the 236. But what do we say once you take it out, and if you need to find support there without going back down below it, you can get 3 reasonable targets without going back down below it. I said support, let's see with this red candle. Isn't it amazing doing technical analysis with somebody who actually does this for a living professionally and is real about it instead of other people. Looking at this here, you can see that we'd be looking up then towards the 382, the 50%, and the 618 as your 3 sort of reasonable targets to have, right? And that could take you back up towards 62 and whatever else. But let's see how we get on with this interaction in around here. This is obviously an area in terms of this 5-minute chart of significance. Let's dive on over though as this sorts itself out in the background, and I'll come back to the chat box in a minute and catch up with you. And by the way, to anybody who's just joining us, apologies for not having got the chat up on screen. It's just not working at the minute. I could maybe, try and fix it by turning the computer off and on again and these sorts of things. But that would disrupt the live stream, right? So we didn't make it up as high as that 200 simple, but we see the prices turning down the way at the same time. It's the money flowing in and out of the market at the minute, doing the same thing, money going in and out from XRP at the same time as we see it going in and out of Bitcoin in that way. So there's a certain degree of correlation between the risk momentum, if you like, in the markets and the ebbs and flows there. Right, I'm going to go back over to the chat in 3 minutes. Let's just take a quick look at ETH, that blue line there, purely coincidental blue line from previous areas of support and resistance, coincidentally having been bang on perfect almost to the penny in terms of the resistance line there for us with this most recent of moves up. And we can see in terms of the context, to put this into context, might as well, right, since we're on the 5-minute charts here, we're above the 200 simple over there, hanging in there quite nicely, so we can see some sort of, the function here is that you're looking at the average of price, and the average of price is essentially as well saying, where have we been compared to where we have been, right? And when you're above the 200 simple, and you're coming in here and you're saying, well, this price here, if you add it together with all the other prices and then divide it by 200, blah blah blah, comes in at bang on there. And it's interesting when you see in terms of time frames, whenever you get the same position with regards to where the prices are across different assets. Tezos, once again, being interesting for us by not being exactly the same as everywhere else, which is good to see. Litecoin very much like Bitcoin in terms of its positioning, and Ripple over here doing that. So we're way off down below it now. That's cool. Let's take a look for just 60 more seconds at Ethereum in terms of the broader picture and whatnot, because there are a few things that you'd want to look at. Look, 24-hour time frame, we had this ascending, broadening wedge. Do you remember that? Where have we come in? We've come in here right on that blue line where we're finding it in terms of being support and resistance. I said it was coincidental. It's not coincidental. it depends on what your definition of coincidental is, right? Because there's nothing coincidental about this chart at all. But, you could say so if you wanted to. In terms of the 5-minute chart, I mean, it looks horizontal and everything and badang. But what we're actually looking at there is we're not able to push just yet back outside of this vestigial upward broadening wedge where the prices are interacting at right now. Now, of course, this has got offering us up a degree of support and resistance both ways, with literally right now resistance on that 5-minute time frame. Generally speaking, support here in this 24-hour time frame. Really depends how you want to cut it, and that's super interesting. We see that we've actually pulled down as far as the 618, and we have had a big volume candle as well in here with this one. So interesting dynamics with regards to the historical price information. Going back to a bigger time frame chart where we've got more historical stuff on the go. How do we see this lining up with regards to our profit taking targets and whatnot? Well, pretty good, right? Pretty good. Right, so that's cool to see. We didn't make it outside of that wedge, like we kind of said. That would have been a quite. People were saying we're going to 700, and it's like, what is it that's making you say that? What is it that's making you say that? Just bear these things in mind when you're looking at technical analysis. That you should really be forming your own opinions. Okay, that you should, and I hope that what I do is inspire you to achieve that and show you how you could do it, as opposed to other stuff. If you want to see, by the way, interesting stuff going on as well with Bitcoin and Ethereum. If I just, this will be the last minute before we go over, I'll just stick this over here. This is the 24-hour time frame, and it's interesting to see the interaction with regards to moving averages and whatnot, and the dynamics that you have running up to them. If we look here at this price chart from a few days ago, seeing that we were in a downward trend, and that at this point here we had put in a low, and it looked to be like it could be a local low, because we'd started to get this green candle, and it had come in lower than the previous low, but was very much bullishly divergent across the board with all of these oscillators down below, and we're staring at potential death cross on the daily time frame. This is Ethereum to Bitcoin, one of the biggest traded things in here, and we had a cross back there in February 2020, when the markets went through all of their crap, right, after COVID and everything else, and we actually got the golden cross there and didn't cross back and didn't even retest it really, since, and then here we are coming in for it. So if I just let this play out in the background for a bit of the crack, then as you can see how these interactions can go as I catch up with the chat. I'll just read it for a second. Wheeler too. I'm not sure if I know Wheeler. Let me just go back up the way and see what people are chatting about. Thanksgiving food is almost done. Tony, you fat bastards. You must have eaten a lot of turkey. XRP's pumping, start another run. Yeah, cool. Okay, Dom. Crypto God, this may actually be a trend reversal. Yes, Crypto God, this may actually be. It may actually be. Now, I'm not saying that it is, and I'm not saying that it isn't, because after calling the low at the start of the year, then the high in February, then the low in March, right? After calling these things, then the high in August, and telling people categorically, specifically before it, and not seeing the channel growing loads, me thinking, look, quality of TA doesn't matter. The fact that I'm literally predicting the future here doesn't matter. Also, all it does is retards people's ability to learn how to trade independently themselves. It could be, right? It could be. If you were subscribed to the channel, you probably saw that chat yourself. I'm not going to start telling people what is or what isn't, but we can look towards certain things like that I spoke about already, and compare them to the volume and certain positions with percentages in terms of how we pull back and moving averages, stuff like that. We could even put on the Bollinger Bands if we wanted as well. Anyway, as you'll have seen then in the play out of that in the background, that this came up, tested the 200, tested the 50, went up the way, and prevented this cross from coming in there, post bullish divergence towards the top side. And we actually see this as pulled up here and done really quite well in the face of the negativity in the markets, and that's quite an interesting sort of standpoint for us with regards to the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, coming in here and putting the 236 smack bang between the middle of these two moving averages, kind of giving you that idea that either we could see more potential upside here up towards that 618, taking out the 382 and the 50% along the way potentially, without saying that you'd look for a reversal at 50%, in which case we've already done it. then, of course, if we take out the 236, which we've tested and already found a support, then, of course, to be looking for the downward side price action. And what would this turn out to be? Well, you've got this high in here, and this high is lower than this price action over there. You can see quite clearly with regards to the closes and where that 50% is positioned. And you've got this high so much higher than those highs over there. So this is hidden bearish divergence, and that's why they call it hidden. And it's followed on from some bullish divergence just beforehand. And that's how you would figure this out. Because, of course, this is a downward trend. You ever see someone talking about divergence during consolidation? That's not what that is. If you ever see whatever, jumping back over to the chat now, there's two interesting dynamics. Isn't that cool? I think it's pretty cool. Watch how the election polls lawsuits affect the market. Powell domination causes cases in GA and MI. GA. What state it would be GA? Anyway, cool. USD you were talking about for XRP, Tony. That's cool. That's what we covered anyway. All frames XRP. XRP is gold. Steve loves his XRP and XLM as well. I'm sure you love like both of those. They're similar projects. Danny Morgan, Link has just bounced as well. Interesting stuff. XRP is doing that airdrop, so people are buying for the 1-to-1 drop and watch the major retrace after. Be careful. Check that out. That comment in the comments by K King. 1367 up there, by the way. XRP is doing that airdrop, so people are buying for the 1-to-1 drop. Watch for the major retrace after. Be careful. And if they're doing an airdrop and they just bought the tokens at a lower price themselves to give them out to people, causing the hype up the way, manipulating the market up towards these levels to then give everybody the tokens that they bought themselves for half the price, a 1-to-1 drop thing is interesting, isn't it? As well, how that could happen. So be careful, right? Says K King. I'm not telling you anything. It's him that's telling you that to be careful, because he's somebody who's maybe worth paying attention to. Cool. Horn Hunter 21. I'm about to eat 100 milligram proud. Do you chill with you? Nice. I hope you're enjoying that. XRP up 12% over the last hour. Wow, Rocky, just call me Tass. Oompa is my clan tag for Mech Warrior. Great, cool. Tass is the call sign. Sweet, Tass, nice to have you here. I should have are you going to put up some game videos as well? You used to do gaming on YouTube. Sweet, cool, nice one. Can't have a comment like that go by without full appreciation from the world. So let me just bring up let me just get a page on YouTube here. Let me just search for Oompa Tass so we can get one of our Rocky Outcrop competitions some chit chat. There we go. That's got to be you with the exclamation or the equals beforehand. Doc, let's look at your video here, live stream for everybody. Let's review the video together. I hope you've got desktop audio here, so let me just bring this up if you can't hear it for everyone.
I've got a project going on called a Doggy Dooley, and I went online to this YouTube channel.
You've got such a great accent.
On YouTube to try to show folks or see what other folks were doing. But
right.
I'm trying.
Okay. Cool, nice one. I think everybody should go there and give him a thumbs up. Hit like on the video. By the way, if you want to do the same thing on this video, you totally can. It's that button there. That's what it looks like. You tap it like I just did. And then if you want to do this sort of thing, you totally can. It's dead easy. You just hit something like Twitter, where you might have a social media account. It's really cool. It's really easy. It's dead handy. And then all you need to do is go, let's do something like this and say, I like this guy. Right? That's all you need to do. You don't need to do anything much. Then you can just tweet it way off. Everybody knows that there's someone that you like out there. How about you do that about this video here for a laugh? And I'll just jump back over to the charts. Thanks so much for sharing, by the way, Tass. Good to have you as part of the family. Cool. Edibles are incredible, sis. Wheeler Walker says, oh, you were talking to each other. Wheeler Walker Jr. All right, cool. Nice one. Who is Scallywally watching but not clicking like? Yeah, who's that? Crypto God says, very interesting what's going on today. Yeah, totally. And then I caught your comment about the W. Danny Morgan was saying, wonder what the regulations will do to crypto. Totally. In general, in the long term, regulation is actually good. What people find when it comes to regulation is that it gives people a framework to operate knowing that you're all right, So the more regulation, generally speaking, leads to better market conditions for traders. And it's actually regulation that you need for institutions. So when people are saying, oh, institutions are buying name a random crypto, when you think about the lack of regulation on those random cryptos, institutions aren't interested in them because, anything could happen. But with more regulation becomes all of that. That means that there's more liquidity in the markets, which makes more stability, which makes it more attractive for bigger investors as well, etc., etc., etc. So it's actually a good thing. But when it happens at certain times, it's bad. And of course, the markets were primed for any bad news was going to be bad news. So Britain telling people, well, we already knew. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know that the economy is completely screwed. So it's the worst it's been in 300 years. Not a surprise to me at all whatsoever, at all, especially under a Tory government in the UK that are bad economically. They just don't manage things very well. And then traditionally, and then you've got allegedly, and then you've got that news in America about KYC and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, not been good so far for it. But in general, I'm here for the ETH. I need a buy back in under $360, says Kevin. You know what, K-Doc? I'm going to actually start calling you K-Doc because there's too many Kevins, I'm afraid. Sorry. Yeah, man, totally. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? Let's put on Ethereum USD so you can see. So $360 comes in around about the low end here of this pitchfork. So to think, is it possible to keep going on up, right? And is it possible to be in a position whereby, say, come July 2021, that we've gone up to $800? Easy possible. In fact, I'd expect it probably to operate outside of this pitchfork by that time. Wouldn't you? Normally they don't last for quite so long, really. So either up or down at some point in between, and then we'll come up with some new ideas. But if it kept going inside this thing for another 6 months or whatever, yeah. And then what if this time next year or 2022, what about if in December 21, 22, we come up and we start trying those all-time highs again? Sure, that's also possible. It would be nice if we did them much sooner than that, of course. But is it possible to get down towards the lower end of this pitchfork? Yeah, that's totally possible, even though it seems incredible compared to where we are. A couple of easy things that you can do to just apply a little bit more context to that discussion as it happens would be to stick in a Fibonacci retracement from the lower end there up to the high, acknowledge that we're past the 236 here, could be looking down to a couple of extra targets. That would bring us down to the lower end of the wedge. If we did that, we'd be taking out the 50. Maybe at that stage we'd say, isn't it time that we tried to test the 200, having not tested the 200 since the 10th of May 2020. That was the last time, so we're talking like 6 months ago or whatever was the last time we touched the 200 simple. So it's been quite a while. So is that possible to happen? Yes, it is. We're in a bull market though, want to say, and if we came down and touched that, we'd be taking out certain areas. If we did it right now, it'd be dodgy because we'd be coming in here close to lows, but we wouldn't actually be taking out our previous lows, right? So we could do all of that and still end up putting in a higher low from the broader perspective. And if I go up to the weekly time frame, you'll get the broader perspective very, very quickly, very easily. Look at it, it just fits in here quite nicely. This is where our lows were. We could come in here, put in another low anywhere around where this X now happens to reside, and you'd get your target bang on, matey waity. Going to catch up with the chat again as well. Sorry that I can't read out everybody's comments, of course. If you want me to read your comment out, just stick a super chat in. There's links down below as well for to donate with crypto in the description. You can support the channel with crypto and PayPal and all that jazz. It's in the description there, and then I'll read your comment out straight away and all that jazz. Pardon me. Good fishing off Sky. Aye, there is good fishing off Sky. I wonder why you're talking about that. 367 would be a bargain. Not sure if you'll get in better than that anytime soon. Yeah, of course, so that would be not sure you'll get in better than that anytime soon. I think the implicit proviso is on that is that if you do get in better than that, then of course by that stage you might actually be looking at it being worse of an idea at that point. Are you wise to buy it down here? Who knows? I mean, this is where we've got this coming in at. Look at the historical thing on this, by the way. We've only just got to the point now where we're able to have 200 weeks, and then the chance of getting a golden cross between the 200 simple and the 50 simple on the weekly time frame. Let me put this into context for you, because there's things that have existed longer. For instance, this is the weekly time frame. On this one, so when you get a weekly cross on this thing, it's important, right? Death cross here, golden cross here, golden cross on this S&P 500 in March 2011, and then since then we've never looked back, right? The same thing applies to numerous other things. How about something with a lot more volatility in it? For instance, USD JPY, weekly time frame, came in pretty close here, didn't actually cross. Overall, pretty good idea for the trend, but you can see here when we did cross, a lot of confusion thereafter. Here we crossed towards the top side, really, really good. So it doesn't take a genius to know that, of course, that these these things happen, but after they happen, you can get crosses, you can get retests of the averages and whatever else. If we saw something like that happen on Ethereum, and it involved a drop down to test those moving averages on the weekly time frame before going towards the top side, that would be your most extreme case in terms of positivity for carrying on up the way afterwards. If we were to come in down here towards this point, and then go towards the top side, it'd be your most extreme case, because what you're doing then is you're looking between, and excuse me as the drawings come back on, but all that there, these highs that was drawn out there, you're coming back down there, taking them out negative, but testing off this, then crashing on up towards the top side, good. Wouldn't want to do anything more than that. So 267 and below right now represents a bad buy for Ethereum, okay, unless we see something change. But by that point, the percentage wise, if you're trading with leverage, you'd be wiped out, and if you're trading on spot, well, then you're not trading on spot, you're just investing slowly. Right, okay. Rocky Outcrop, how did you learn TA? How long did it study it before doing it full time? Right, difficult question to answer, because and I really, I find myself answering this question from quite a lot, as you can expect, obviously. And so I've answered it in the Discord and everything else in the past. But it isn't just simply like I went to the library and I got this book, which would be lovely if it was that answer, right? I've always been interested in this ever since I was a kid. It's one of these things that I thought I was either going to be a Formula One race car driver, an astronaut, a lawyer, or a stock trader, right? I mean, it was one of these things that I thought I'd be, and so I've always had that interest in it, and that's kind of, that makes a difference, I suppose. But then as well, I did business and finance related stuff at school, then university thereafter, and I got a master's degree, then I worked in an investment bank. So, at what stage along the way did I learn little bits? Who knows? I was also trading, having an interest in it myself at various different times, and there's lots of things happened in the past as well that almost everybody in certain countries gets involved in. For an easy example, in the UK, you got examples like the Twitter ICO, the 2008 financial crash when RBS dropped to being pennies, and then went up thousands upon thousands of percent thereafter. You're talking about, so there's various other times when it's like wise and everybody in the UK knows about trading. So at what point do you learn and what point do you get into it? It's hard to say. I started doing it full time, you could say, after a return to the financial world, having taken a decade out kind of in between times to go off and start my own businesses and be entrepreneurial and all that sort of stuff back in 2017 or so. And then and how long did it take me to learn to be able to do it full time? I would say that that while there's no one person's story is going to be like the same size fits all on this thing, I would say that if you give yourself 18 months to get to the point where you could then say, then you could start really assessing your progress, would be wise. And if you give yourself 3 years to decide whether or not you're it's even what you want to do, fully answer that question. I can say that this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. You might do it for 2 years and think it's great, and 3 years and think, I'd rather go off and become a movie star, right? For instance, whatever. So you do that. Or start a Wheel of Time show on YouTube. Hey, let me know. Not getting many feedbacks about that, but I'm thinking about it. Whatever. But yeah, I think if you give yourself those sorts of targets, then it's good, because it puts less pressure on yourself. You'll probably find that you'll get there quicker. If you, on the other hand, what you say is, I want to become really good at trading within the next 6 months, that's actually, it sounds like a long time to a lot of people. That's definitely a really short period of time. If you're going to struggle, if you say to yourself even worse, like, I'm going to become really good at trading in the next 2 months, then what you're going to do is you're going to maybe knock your confidence after a couple of months. There's no point in that. It's going to take how long it's going to take, right? And you might have to do things like join communities like the Rocky Outcrop community to really get from one level to the next, because throughout this period there'll be like plateaus, where you get up and you get good, but then you don't know what it is that you need a little bit of coaching to take it to the next level, whatever, that sort of stuff. That's all good. So everybody takes different amount of time for everybody. Depends on your personality types, character traits, whatever. Can't answer that question, sorry buddy. I can tell you though that if you wanted to say how long I studied before going full time at it, I can give you 2 answers to that question. One answer would be, in some senses, I've studied this for 20 years. And then in another sense, I went and lived in Spain for 6 months, having only learned Spanish for 8 weeks, and came back fluent. And I didn't know a single thing how to say. I actually had to ask people on the plane on the way over, how do you say this? How do you say that? I can remember distinctly walking off the plane and there being a sign up saying that you need to have your passport ready every time you go through whatever. And there was that word in Spanish, CADA, C-A-D-A. And me turning around to the guy next to me and saying, what does that word mean? You know, I understand passaporte and whatever. What's CADA? I've never heard that before. And then 6 months I come back and I'm fluent and I speak it and I've got Spanish friends. You tell me, takes you as long as it takes you, doesn't it? You could be here in 6 months as good as anybody. You could be as good as anybody you've ever seen. So if you're looking at YouTube and you see some guy like Forex Today, for instance, I like his channel, good, interesting guy. He's about 50 odd. You know, you don't need to wait till you're that age to be as good as him. I reckon you could get as good as him in 3 years. For the average person. Right, Rocky, can you share with us how you gained all this awesome knowledge? Oh, kind of overlap on that question a wee bit. I can talk about it in more detail some other time. Getting a Lamau from Lavanethan, that's quality to see. Hope it was something I said that made you Lamau. Crypto Gods, right now we're testing the W for bounce up. Yes, sir. Sonny Boy, have I missed much? Hey, Sonny, you've not missed anything. We've not looked at Tezos at all yet. Let's stick it up with the 5-minute chart behind me. This weekly chart for Bitcoin's not going to do anybody not going to give anyone any joy. Let's stick up the 5-minute chart on this one. Now, Tezos has done a few things recently. Like the other, look at this actually in terms of, we talked about this with regards to Ripple a minute ago. Let me just put a bit of context in terms of the market for us on here. We talked about this in terms of Ripple, came up here, tested the 200, came back down, you know, found resistance, support resistance. You can see the wick in here as well. Whoops. You can see the wick in here as well, for instance, there coming bang up onto it. Then here, you know, you can see how this happens, right? This is technical analysis, right on the 236 and the 200 simple in the 5-minute time frame. Then we've moved past it. We could come in and have another retest of it, sure we could, whatever. But now over there on Tezos, we're looking at a similar sort of thing. So let's see, where does this 200 simple, oops, yeah, well that's cool. I've already got some of the work's done on this one, if you like then. Where does that 200 simple line up with? And we can see there's a yellow line right there. And if I scroll over to the left, that's the 382 on a Fibonacci retracement. The Fibonacci retracement is from the inflection point here, the last one before the drop. Do I want to look at that one or not? Doesn't really matter. You can do this in your own time. Let's have a wee look at this. Look at this just as it is. Let's just look at it properly. Let's look at it properly. Thanks very much for everybody for joining me. If you've just joined me, taking a look at XDZ here, that's Tezos, that's Tez. You might have heard of it before, versus the dollar here for 5 minutes, then going back over to the chat to catch up with y'all. Then maybe we'll take a look at Link after that. So it'll be like 5 minutes here, chat for 5 minutes or less, 5 minutes of Link, 5 minutes of ideas from the audience. I've already looked at Bitcoin, I've already looked at Ethereum. So, you know, we're doing pretty well here in terms of the stream, and if you want to go back and check out those other ones, you can. But yeah, let's just do this. So 24-hour time frame, we saw a couple of really nice things were achieved in this little period of time. It's kind of a little bit noisy, so I'm going to hide some things here to get it out of the way, so we don't get too distracted here by the main points that we want to look at. And actually, you know what? Screw it. I'll take away that Fibonacci just there as well. There's a few things that have happened that are really quite nice in terms of the TA for this one. By all means, by the way, go ahead and copy this TA for yourself. You know, I don't tell people not to copy my TA. Man, what does that even work? Just if you want to try and recreate this, you're more or less welcome to. I've got a pitchfork on the go here, but I've extended the left line on it. I'll just undo the extension of the left hand side so you can see where this is drawn in from. And you've got lows down there on the 4th of July, towards your highs on August, towards your most recent low over there in September, pointing down the way, and it's an inside pitchfork, right? Is that right? No, it's a shift pitchfork, sorry. For instance, right, that's just one little thing. And as we can see here, that when we came up and pushed past this area where the green turns blue, if you like, we came back down, retested it, and what the retest was of that stage was of this upward support line from the previous symmetrical triangle, which we then broken towards the downside, come back up, retested, then, you know, we had this happen here. And then so far again, we see that we're currently we went up towards the top side, went off the median line of the pitchfork, which would have been a target, by the way, at 289 profit taken wise, came back down the way, and then we kind of failed to sustain ourselves in at this horizontal resistance line, which we'd actually also had as a profit taken target beforehand, in there at 260, then dropped on down the way. That green line that comes in there is a 236 Fibonacci retracement line, and we actually dropped below that, went all the way down and tested the lower end of this extended thing. Now, this is kind of a little bit bad practice, you could say, in terms of, you know, you shouldn't really be doing this sort of a thing. If you see this on somebody else's channel, normally they're kind of amateur, right? It's kind of bad, but you can see that at times there's kind of a use case for it. So anyway, what we're looking at now is where we will be with regards to these two zones, and can we pull towards the top side yet again. Having taken out the 236 previously and coming back in for a test of it, that wouldn't be too bad, and coming down here, then there's still plenty of time left on the day. Could we be looking up the way? Well, let's try and answer that question by taking it from our extreme point high to our extreme point low with a Fibonacci retracement and seeing on these lower time frames how we kind of lining up there in terms of whether or not we should be positive for this with regards to, say, like the next 10 hours sort of type of chat, the next 24 hours or whatever. So let's go down to the 1 hour time frame and examine this here, and you can see that at this point where we have the resistance currently from that blue upward sloping line where we were talking about a second ago, we also have the confluence of the 236 coming in there at that particular area, and the flip-flop between this lower zone, which is the lower warning zone, by the way, that's the name of it, of this pitchfork, up towards the lower zone of the pitchfork, okay, which is the zone, the area, the lower area, whatever you want to call it, between the median line and the lower line, which is the median line is this yellow serrated line I have in here, and the lower line is where it turns from being blue to green, okay, and that's lining up here with this 236, and that price point is at $2.30. $2.30, I think, probably feels like one of those numbers for us in terms of importance anyway. Probably looked like that as we were coming into around these areas. In fact, you can see with the 1 hour time frame it certainly was, but the 15-minute will demonstrate that even more, about how the 30 area is clearly like one of those zones, and we're right on there kind of licking it and sniffing at it, but not quite actually biting and chewing through it quite yet. So what we want to do is scoff it right up, but we've got this downward price action with a degree of divergence, he says, wrongly. Well, no, because you can see that it's going down the way, and this high has come up higher than our previous high on the Stochastics and the MACD. What about the DMI as it happens? Doesn't look like it. You can see that it hasn't. Oh, well, no, it doesn't look like it. And then the RSI, we have Class B at least as well. So we've got this sort of Class B hidden bearish divergence on the go now. Is the hidden bearish divergence going to be the main thing? Well, in terms of this tiny dinky winky 15-minute time frame, we certainly are in a downward trend. So maybe perhaps we might put a little bit more weight on hidden bearish divergence than we otherwise would, because of course it's kind of secondary to sort of regular classic divergence sort of aspect. In terms of that though, do we have any of it? And looking at these lows on the way down, you can see following the eyeball in this just up the way, now this was entirely bullishly divergent throughout this section, and then we've come in here with these lows coming up towards the 236 to try and test it at 230. So 230 is going to be your takeaway number in terms of understanding where we are. Now support remains for us in here at this area of this blue line, and that is of course going to be at $2.10. It lines up nice and perfectly, so I'm able to get away with that. Otherwise, amateur looking TA by extending your triangle onto the next area. That's anyway, that's how this works. And then we're looking down here towards the next target down the way is going to remain at that 190, sort of $2, the round number of $2 as well. But towards the top side, should we take out 236 again, then the sky's your oyster, and you could be looking up towards 618, golden pocket, retrace zone there at 262. And what does that line up with? Well, lo and behold, that green straighted line we were talking about before goes smack bang in the middle of that zone. So that's your next real area. So if you want to be real about things, then your real areas boil down to this, to this, to this, and then of course our previous highs, and then our previous lows over here. That's your TA for this. And of course we could go over and take a look at Link. I'm going to put Link onto the 15-minute chart here and Link, and chill out as I check out the chat and see what you've all got to say about stuff there. And a couple of interesting things. First off, this is Link versus BTC. We've taken out this downward sloping trend line from yet another one of these things. Again, I don't want to tell people that it's a good way to do things, because I know what it's like to be new to trading and to look at a screen. Right. Now, of course, whenever I was new to trading, the screens were crap, and you had to have a white background. Everything loaded up like it was taking you ages, like chunk, waiting for it, and it looked like MetaTrader and those rank crap charts. TradingView, by the way, is beautiful. We're really blessed to have this. But I know that you're looking at this and you can see this, and you can see the interaction we had in terms of resistance, right? Then you can see us retesting it as support. Then you can see us coming up here and testing this area as resistance, and you can see us coming back down here, cracking below it, come back up and find it as resistance, support again, then breaking past it again before we move towards the top side. I know you can see that, right? But I wouldn't then therefore say that this is how you should go with every single one of these symmetrical triangles there thereafter. There's been numerous other things that have come into play as we've talked about these throughout time, and really just generally speaking, hold your horses on that one. Looking at here and with this Fibonacci retracement, where we've come from. Oh wait, I was going to go back to chat. Screw it, 5 minutes, we're back in chat in 5 minutes, right? Hit the like button if you're just joining us. Looking at link just now. If you're just joining us, thanks so much. Welcome to the family. Love to have you here. I'm going to look at the chat in 2 minutes and I'll see your name. I'll give you a shout out if you say anything at all and I've not said your name already. So coolie schmoolie on that one. And thanks so much for joining me. And what do I have here? I have a super happy Thanksgiving Outcrop Petitions, says 3000 Trin. Great guy, thank you so much 3000 Trin for that contribution there, really appreciated. And he's saying happy Thanksgiving to every single one of you. You're an Outcrop Petition here in this community, you know, this is great. So happy Thanksgiving, thanks so much by the way 3000 Trin. Saw your comment coming in. Anyway, right, yeah, we'll go back to that in 2 minutes. Just don't get too carried away when you're looking at crazy stuff on the internet, right? In terms of like some guy doing technical analysis, and then what you suddenly find yourself doing is taking out out trend lines, and you're like, oh, we were in a wedge here, or whatever, and this is the wedge here. So now our next target towards the top side is a retrace off the lower side of this, up towards retest of the lower side. No, that's far too arbitrary and plucked out the air and random. And and you don't just go in here and say, look, we had this sort of downward trend here, so maybe then at this point here, no, it's not how it works. Anyway, don't need to go on about things for too long. What we did have though was an upward wedge, go off the 15-minute time frame up towards the 24 hours, so you can actually see how this really all panned out, because it's interesting to see. I came up with this sort of this funny idea the other day to call it the question mark pattern. That's those sexy police, by the way, that are scouring the streets looking for me. Lucky they don't know about my secret hideaway here, or I would be carted off to the sexy prison in due order. Anyway, as you can see here, we have this question mark pattern. That's what I was calling it the other day if you're watching the link video. Shout out to everybody who was watching it back then, by the way. Always appreciate the support. And I said, are we going to be in this area where we have a question mark here? And then, of course, it creates a big question mark for all of these different things and these zones, and would we go down? And we've done that in the end anyway. So that was a bit of a laugh for us. But we can see that we had this wedge towards the top side of, say, if I don't mess up the charts too much, we had this wedge towards the top side, yada, 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 on up the way, broke out of it, got our textbook sort of measured move, more or less, came back down, retested, didn't find support. This liquidity zone here was very, very important. The highs for us up there at 1644 are also important. Then we pulled back down the way. 1644, I thought we got as high as 17, whatever, doesn't matter. Then we pulled back down the way, and then on and on and on and on and on and on down. We've so far come down almost as far as the 618 golden pocket retracement would have us if we drew in a Fibonacci from the lows that we had up towards the highs over there. Where we actually have come down though and then found support twice so far is the 50% area, and 1150 or 1189 being important. Now we've had these targets on here for quite a while. It'll be of no surprise to anybody to see that these lined up perfectly, and the reason why 15 and 1550 wasn't on there was because for the longest time I had a Fibonacci retracement on here, and that's where I was saying that we were going to. In fact, it's still there, the golden pocket right there. You can see we had these two targets of there in the liquidity zone, and we talked about it and yada yada. So we covered that and the potential for a textbook move. We covered that. That's why they're not on there. These still remain the key levels for us though, we're looking at now. So 1270, as you can see, is right there already written out. Bearing in mind these were written in ages ago, back when over here in October maybe or something, I don't know, ages ago now. And if we do go towards the downside, 1170 key area for us. If we're going to go down any further than that, 11, and then the furthest down that I'd be willing to see it go and still remain positive is $10.33. Okay, if we do that, then we're doing a 618 golden pocket retracement off of this off the lows to the highs, coming in here, and we're challenging the golden pocket and the 236 of the Fibonacci, which brought us up towards the golden pocket that we just got. Okay, so that's your dynamic there. In terms of upside targets, then of course we can look back towards this list, easy enough. 270, taking that out, that's good, but we can see here that 296 where the 382 is, that's probably going to be an area to be aware of. This channel that we were in for a long time beforehand could still remain important for us, and we could look out towards the median line of it if we're interested in it, having come back in with a sort of a fake out, you could say, from this thing to then continue on the way. And then your three targets then, if you want to have three at the minute towards the top side, are 1350, then you've got 1429, and then you've got the top end back into this liquidity zone, 1550 all over again, with the top end of the channel, and of course this any remnants in terms of like what we could see in confluence wise with regards to movements from the past and where we are. Right, good. That'll do. What do you want to see? Bitcoin. I already talked about the shape here and our target. Of course, support needs to be found 72k. Upside target 93k. Those have been the big levels for a long time. If you're going to be less sort of picky about things, then let's look towards a 236 movement off the back of this long time downward trend, and say that things start to look positive again once we take out 88k. Now, we've been up there and we've not closed above it so far. I think that's pretty fair to say that this is an inflection area for us in the market. So 88k for that one, and versus Ethereum, if you want to see that, we failed. We did a big fail here. We failed some more. We got divergence or anything? Yeah, we've got some divergence here. So let's see then. We've got some potential for at least a decent trade and move, decent opportunity wise, if we could get rid of that, from just simply taking it from our inflection point there at the top of this ascending triangle down towards here off of the full measured move of this ascending triangle. By the way, we did the textbook, we came back up, did another symmetrical another ascending triangle, did the textbook off of that. In fact, we did the full measured move off of that, then back up towards, we found resistance at this area, which we knew it would be. Then we went back down again, and we eventually completed the full move off of this pattern, off of this TA over here. So what we're experiencing right now was forecastable in a sense in this area over here, which I'm kind of making really messy at the minute. So that's what let us know about this. Cool. Let's go and then check and see then in that sense what we need to see the prices doing to start to get bullish. And we want to see them, well, they've not so far taken out that 24, 50, whatever, let's just call it what it is then, 2469, 0.02469, staying above that, going to remain fairly positive on this in terms of the potential, given that we actually have come down this far and moved back up again. So we've so far managed to find some ganas towards the top side, some sort of desire to not be completely crap in it, and that makes sense, I suppose, when you think about the profit taking that would have happened in this area from the measured move off the back of that triangle. And you can see we're bang on that area when actually lining it up properly, and we need to see the prices stay above 20 where they are now, let's say, and then sure. So if we manage to close out the next, say, several hours here, now that might not be any use to you, of course. So really then at that point, if we get past the 2568 area, then 25681, then of course we could be looking towards the top side, and we'd have two targets thereafter, and they both open up relatively low risk management trade areas. But a really easy way of kind of thinking about things for just now is along the lines of, well, I want to have 5-to-1 on a trade, so we'll sort the 5-to-1 out afterwards. I'm going to aim for the golden pocket zone, but not actually into the golden pocket itself, just shy of the 618. Then I'm going to zoom back in and say, where would my risk to reward come in at? And you can see if I pull this down to the point where it gets to 5-to-1, or pull it up to 5-to-1, you can see that you wouldn't want to see the prices going any lower than 23 before stopping out. And the way that this has been volatile, you might need to see them close out a couple of hours instead of having it as a hard stop. I don't really know, but I'm not actually giving any financial advice because I don't do that on this channel, as you know very well. But what I really drew that on there before was to make the point that you can also as well look at it this way around and say that if we were to go down the way, then perhaps an easy enough trade on this front, looking down the way, would be to kind of manage yourself along these sorts of lines in terms of taking profit back down at our previous wick low and operating between those two zones there. I'm going back over to the chat, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the charting for today done. From this point onwards, I'll be taking suggestions from you, but not that many, because and then I'll go on to the life, to the IRL thing. Sometimes I play IRL and it involves, eating dinner and stuff like that. So I'll go on to do all of that IRL game afterwards. But just for now, let's keep up the shenanigans here in the chat, and I'll catch up with everybody. So I got a big lol from Danny Morgan earlier on. I hope that was because I said something funny. But if it was because somebody said something funny in the chat, then brilliant. I appreciate the chat too. Georgia. Should have known that, right? From the I was looking at the map. I knew it. I was looking. I was going, GA. What is that? Georgia, obviously. Duh. Jesus. Michigan. Yeah, well, we would have got Michigan. Sorry, I forget they teach little about the states over there. Yeah, they really do. They really teach little. But then again, if you're in the States and you say to people, I'm from Edinburgh, you maybe have heard of it as Edinburgh. It is the capital of Ireland. They'll just believe you. They'll just believe you. Or if you say, where is Edinburgh? Is it in London? Then, a lot of people would say, yeah, I think so. So, anyway, they don't teach us much about the States, but I don't know. I mean, how much do you get taught about Scotland? I don't think anybody gets, and that's a shame, because Scotland has got the best history. Have you seen Braveheart, the movie? If not, check it out. Have you seen the Netflix movie, the King of Scotland, Warrior King on Netflix. Check that out. Check that out for a movie. It's low budget-ish, but yeah. What's my name? You'll never see somebody saying, what's my name? Tell me my name ever again the same. Right, anyway, cool, nice one. Catching up with the chat, a couple more lols in there, so that's hopefully happy times. Somebody says, scandalous. Oh my goodness. Looks like ETH is finding support at the level you were looking at earlier. Cooly schmooly, nice to see it, Dom. Thanks for keeping me informed. BTC will go back to 17,950, 18,000 this move before falling over again, says Susan Warrender. Interesting point there, Susie. Susie, sorry, I shouldn't be. I like the name Susie, so if you I think that's a nice nickname, then I'm happy to call you it. Yeah, well, what did you say there in terms of like 1750 to 800? I mean, yeah, because if we look at this 18,000 area, if it fails there, that's quite bad. 1750 as well, not taking out these, or 17,500, not taking out these wicks and whatever else. We've got this zone up above us to look to as well with regards to this movement down the way. I haven't actually done this in the show so far today, have I? So I'll do it now, or I did it on a different chart. Must have been a different chart. So here we are, and looking up the way, you could say that maybe you got 17,850 is where Dow Jones would be looking for a pullback. His name was Dow, and his lover was Dow Jones. No. Well, there's two back in the day. There was these two people. One was called Dow, and one was called Jones. Anyway, little lesson for you there. So this is where Mr. Dow Jones would say, because I like to say that he's one person, Dow Jones would be looking to here for the pullback, and then maybe pulling down the way. I'd also be concerned if we didn't see anything managing to take out these higher targets, because where that 236 was before, if we came up towards the 236 and don't invalidate that Fibonacci and simply put in a rounding area here, then that would look quite bad in terms of having a low here and a lower high, and then if we move down the way, it would be shocking to see bodies closing down below this in terms of the lower term time frames. 16,500 is definitely a key area for us if we come back down the way thereafter. Sorry, Rocky, I was on GBP for ETH, not USD. Oh, that's cool. That's all good. TAS, 5k ETH, the end of the bull run, unless it is aborted. Well, that would be amazing. 5k ETH. That's kind of, it's impossible to chart your way up there. Doing anything which exists within the realm of reason, but if we just take reason, right, and chuck it out of the window, just say reason, don't want any more of that, reason, right, get rid of it, and instead go for our Fibonacci retracement from our all-time highs to our lows over here. And then zoom on out a bit so we can get an idea. I've already got one of these from in the past, as you can see, actually coming on up the way. Then what do we have? So you're saying 5,000, so we're going to go for a 4.414 Fibonacci retracement area in terms of a movement towards the top side. That sounds impossible. There hasn't been an asset in the world ever that's gone for a 4.414 Fibonacci retracement ever in the history of the world, or has there? Let's go and check it out. In fact, let's just do this real quick and show you an example of one of these things. So you had Chainlink. You've almost got two lives of Chainlink. The past and then the present, or whatever. Hide all this stuff so you can see what we're talking about here. This high was something to something, wasn't it? Yes, it was. If I just take a Fibonacci retracement then and draw one in from that low down to this low and kind of stick it in roughly, because really how much can you be bothered when it comes to making a point for the purposes of a live stream and making everybody bored as you're watching it, So gonna just have to go with that. Let's make it all nice and pink so you can see where it is. And see that 414, we actually went on beyond that. We went up towards a 5 area instead, even past the 414. You could even have taken this up, but they don't even bother writing them in past that point there on the options for you, and with good reason. But generally speaking, is it possible to see something like that happen? Yes, it is. Now there's a few distinct differences here, right? One of them is, all-time high territory, way past this point. $4 was way past it, and an overall upward trend for its lifetime existence. Ethereum maybe not quite so positive in that sense, that we have this up and down, but then again, put it on a logarithmic chart, right? And this is what we're looking at, and suddenly it's a very different picture in terms of the feeling of this thing. I mean, you might only be used to looking at Ethereum on the linear chart, especially if you only watched my videos for the last wee while, because this is, been mostly what I've been showing people. But if you want to look at this in terms of logarithmic and then talk about the overall trend, sure, as soon as we take out our previous highs, it resolves this area into a higher low, a high, a higher low, and then off effing go, right? So sure, why not? I think that's possible. Let me catch up with the chat here for a bit then. I'm going to have to probably skip a couple more messages as we go through this, by the way. Astronaut Trader, same thing, right? That's it, man. That's it, Kevin, yeah. Astronaut Trader, either way, we're going to the feckin' moon, right? Dire moon, right? Okay, nothing going to get in the way of us and the mission. Well, since I'm a movie star, I can say I'd rather be an astronaut. Man, wouldn't it be cool if you were, actually? And that at some point, someone along the way will come along that's like a movie star or something. Ethereum USD is at $520 at the minute. Oh, that's interesting, actually. Let me just kind of zoom back in here. Sorry. So over this last wee while, it's done all right since I was filming my video earlier on. Good stuff. Nice to see. Great. Excellent. I suppose maybe you might want the context of what I've put on everything so far with a nice big pink coloured Fibonacci retracement coming down here towards the lows, showing us that the 236 is in there at $513. We're above that now. The 618, by the way, is at 572. Nice to see. W pattern, if you want to call it that, as well. And you've got at these lows here, bullish divergence here. This is a 15-minute chart, so we're not going to get carried away looking at this thing, but it's nice to see. And of course, this is going to be your area for us right now. All eyes got to be on 513, because if you've not got into a trade yet and you're looking at this thing, well then what are you talking about? Maybe trying to play it past the breakout. I suppose that's your next low risk management zone, would be to think to yourself that if we get a breakout from this sort of a thing here, bearing in mind, by the way, that a W is another way of kind of quite easily saying like an inverted head and shoulders, if you want, bearing in mind that from this point of view, you've got your shoulder, your head, your shoulder, like that. Then of course you've got your neckline concept. It's the same in every single one of these things, where it's twin peak or double peak or triple peak, whatever patterns that you've got, whether it's sloping or whatever. You've got your divergence here, you've got your neckline. We've come in here. This would be your area, I suppose, if you wanted to have a low risk area trade, if you wanted to, which you could manage very easily. Now, I did say at the start of this, all eyes are on that number, and obviously people like to sort of talk about it from the, what if I got into the market right here, right now? Well, that's it lined up as if you just took an imaginary trade. Your profit taking target, I think probably a realistic area to look to would be 1 or 2 fib levels up from where we are now, the 382 and the 50%, with your stop coming in there, and that's a nice risk to reward of 5 to 1 there. But what this means is, if you're looking at 5 to 1, is that you're stopping out just past, just shy, or just on the 236. So yet again, that's why all eyes would be on the 236, regardless of whether or not you got into a trade right now, or indeed you're waiting, because that would be your dynamic. Which is kind of obvious, right? You're starting to get the hang of this, right? Aren't you? Everybody's getting the hang of this now. Awesome. What people haven't got the hang of, though, is hitting that like button. Lol. Go on, hit it. Go on, hit it. Go on. Hit it. Saw this news about Binance giving us US customers 14 days to remove their funds. Yeah, I was wondering about that as well. Like, that news came out back when we were at our highs and at the same sort of time, so it was a sort of good catalyst style thing with KYC and everything else that's going along. I don't know about this. I don't even know if it's true. Shall we try and establish if there's any truth to it? Binance US customers. Oh, well, actually, no, Binance.us, right? That's going to be where they're going to have the news, right? If there's news about, if it's real, they're going to tell you on their website, right? Announcements, right? If it's a real announcement, it's going to be on their US website. Latest news, upcoming hard fork, so that's past. Welcomes you, new listings, Binance list, Orchid, blah blah blah. Overall, on the face of it, it doesn't seem very real to me. Has anybody done any other research into it? There's my there's my 2 minutes of 1 minute of research into this thing. I heard someone was saying it. I'm not sure how much credence to apply to it. I've not investigated it yet. It's not on their website, which is weird, right? But cool. Maybe it's just law or something. Almost everything is up on the 1 hour. However, that's too small of a time frame to judge. Boom, 10 points to Taz. Well done, Taz. Good one, mate. Yes, you're right. It's too early to judge always. Link making moves. Oh, that's cool. We've kind of covered these things at the time, so that's decent to see. My rising channel just got broke to the upside, says Crypto God. Nice one. That means that everybody's getting some good trades in here at the same time as watching the channel. Wow! Trading and let me know in the comments how you do that, by the way. Do you watch, say, on like your TV, right? And then have your computer set up. You can see my TV up behind me, by the way, in the background there. Completely forgot it was on. That'll be one of the reasons why the lighting's not so great. Whoops. It's a nice TV. Yeah, so do you watch it like on the TV and then, have your computer so you can see? Do you watch it on like your phone and trade on the computer? Do you watch on your computer, trade on your phone? I don't know. By the way, a lot of people have obviously got problems when they say, oh, you should never ever trade on your phone. Now, I would say to people to watch out because it's fiddly and everybody's got fat thumbs when it comes to small screens, right? Everybody's a fat-fingered person. So I would say so. But what I would really say is that you should learn to do your charting in a separate area to where you do your trading. And then it doesn't matter what you're using because it's just an entry form, right? Trade on your phone, trade when you're at the gym, trade when you're in the swimming pool if you've got a waterproof phone, trade when you're climbing a mountain, trade when you're at your granny's. Oh, look, my TV just turned off. So there we go. Obviously, that's my TV telling me that you need to wrap up the live stream soon, Rocky. Hey, lol. So yeah, all of that. So you can trade on your phone if you want to. Just do the majority of your charting elsewhere. And then when you think about it, people back 100 years ago, they didn't have phones or computers or anything. So. I need to spend a few months in Germany to get my German back. Yeah, man. If you speak another language, then it opens up your whole brain. It's great. Then Horn Hunter and Kevin having a talk about flavors of brownies, let's say, or yeah, whatever, right? Cool, nice one. Less stress on a lot. Yeah, yep, good. You got the hamster working the modern wheel again. Nice. Hey, Rocky, what do you think of the daily 24-hour chart for Bitcoin? MACD is ticking bearish. Right, first off, I would say the MACD, by the way, as you can see, I have it down here on the charts. There's me. Aw, what a moron, eh? Everybody watching this. I'm fairly new to live streams. What I just did for your benefit there, this is how much I treat it as if I'm talking to somebody who's a real person. I just tried to get out of your way so you could see the screen behind me. I was like trying to move out of your way. Look here on the charts behind me. What the hell? Anyway, I'll get used to this at some point. By the way, like and subscribe if you haven't already. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, look, I don't use the signal line or the cross because statistically speaking, it's like the weather report for 3 weeks out. You know that you can get weather reports for 3 or 4 weeks out. I think you can even get like BBC 3-month weather report, right? I'm pretty sure they'll give you one. Monthly outlook. Now, somewhere on this website here, they might tell us whatever the statistical chance of them actually being correct is, if you could be bothered reading it, which clearly we can't. But the thing is like, with these really far out weather reports, they start getting down to a point where they're only accurate 25% of the time, which means that if it says to you in 3 months time it's going to be sunny, make sure you bring your umbrella because 3/4 of the time it's actually going to be raining. Now they know it themselves, but they still put the reports out, which is kind of funny as well. Now the MACD, funnily enough, works the same way. It's right less than 40% of the time in terms of crosses, just in terms of the signal line and the other cross. It's not actually a very good indicator. It is if you use it with other things. Ticking bearish, not so great of a thing. I wonder what time frame you were talking about and all the rest of it though, but we can just kind of investigate this ourselves to see if I stick them back on. So like I say, I don't use these normally. Won't have been the 15-minute. Could have been the 1 hour you were looking at. 30-minute. Could have been the 30-minute or the 1 hour you were looking at. 4 hour. Well, if we talk about it this way, though, I mean, in terms of the 12-hour ones, just kind of giving us a cross there now, I suppose, or lunchtime really, or whatever. So that was a little bit late to the party, wasn't it? But then again, that's what you get with this thing because it's not very good. Then you go down to the 4-hour. Yeah, this is hella bearish, right? If there's any way to describe this, let's make these two lines easier to see. This is the out of the box settings too, so you think they'd be easier to see, but they're not. Green. Oh, I can't even be bothered. If I could be bothered, it'd be different, but I can't. That's hella bearish. But yeah, in the 1 hour, it did just tick bullish. What we have here is a higher high in the MACD in terms of histogram. Let's just take a look at this. Now, what I actually use this for is divergences, helping me spot when there's a wedge on the charts, which I might not otherwise see. Oh, this is something I wanted to talk about as well, actually. The high up here that we've got, having come up higher than our previous high over here, and given that we're in a downtrend in this area, is actually a hidden bearish divergence high. Okay, that's what that is. That is a hidden bearish divergence. Until such times as we've taken out some of these higher targets, in which case it's just convergent with the trend. But until we have, we're still in a downward trend, because look, we haven't even taken out our previous, we didn't close above our previous high. This is a lower high, right? So that is hidden bearish divergence. If this comes down the way, it's premature to say so at the minute. And I also wanted to point out that you could be looking at that as being your top area. I forgot to say this earlier. And then down here as your lower area, wick, body, wick, in terms of touches, then that's a descending broadening wedge. And while we could see then a pull back up towards the 382 here on this one, that would be your target in terms of just this move, and then it would retrace from the 382 at that point for extra context. Yeah, I don't really care that the MACD's just ticked bullish, but sure it has. Let's do a little bit of sanity testing on it, shall we? Let's take the 4-hour time frame and go back over the last 4 crosses on the 4-hour time frame to see if they were any good for us or not. So we got a bullish cross over here. Well, that was good, I suppose, but the reality is that we actually had the last, the bullish cross really was down. Suppose it was good enough. Bearish cross here, but we just had a bullish cross just before it. So we got a fake bullish cross there, followed by the real bearish cross. Fake bullish cross there, followed by a bearish cross. Real bearish cross there. After the market's moved, real but useless. Sorry, that's what I'm going to say. Sorry, this is what I want to add up to. Real, sure, real and useful in the sense that you get the cross over here. And the move has already started to happen. So if you were to want to try and ride this as a momentum play up the way, in which case, you'd want to use the MACD if you're more of a momentum trader than if you're a counter trend trader for sure. So in terms of crosses, it's kind of, it's not very good for counter trend, better for momentum. As a confirmation, as opposed to a signal in the first place. Then the next cross happened, which was to the downside. When did it happen? Was it early enough or too late? It was early enough, given that we had that pull back up towards the top side. Of course, I mean, if you'd taken it off the back of the cross itself, then you would have had to have sat through 3% movement towards the top side. The likelihood being that, unless then at that point that you were looking in terms of trading this thing from there and keeping, then you want this to turn out to be a 5-to-1 risk to reward. So what you're looking at in terms of this being a realistic trade was to take profit down there at 462. Am I in the wrong bloody chart? I'm on the Ethereum chart. Well, all this applies. So sorry. I thought I was on Bitcoin there. Or at least for a second I thought I was supposed to be on Bitcoin. Can't remember what I'm supposed to be on. Same stuff applies to all the charts I was looking at. You would be looking down towards getting the price down to 462, at least in terms of your move. Now, of course, that's cool. And that means that if you were... Who was it that said it earlier on? Was it Tass? Or was it Sunny? Was it Dom? I can't remember who said it earlier on in terms of the 460 being their target. Was it Horn Hunter? I don't know. Somebody said 460 is the target. Good target to have if this was your trade. Then you would have just have avoided being stopped out in terms of the movement back up towards the top side. Looking at that as a 5-to-1, in order to avoid being stopped out. So like, if you weren't stopped out and you're looking for a 5-to-1 trade, then you're looking to go for the price to go down at least as far as. Well, actually, I had that wrong. At least as far as $450. See what I mean in terms of like putting crap on yourself. So the MACD is generally speaking bad signals. I mean, of course, now that's me deliberately dismissing the good signals that we had there. It's just that we had such a vast quantity of bad ones that it makes it so that it's like it doesn't contribute to my trading. Right, sorry. Okay, so it looks like I've missed a few comments. I want to say hello to Rafat Kumsaye. What a name. That is quality. You've got QU and then no other vowels afterwards. QUM. Kumsaye or something. That's cool. That's a cool name. Cheers. Good to have you here, Rafat. Wonder if that's your real name. Then we've got JJJ, Bitcoin Rally, asking the question mark, Bitcoin Rally. Yeah, Bitcoin Rally. Look at that. We're in 17,219. Bitcoin Rally, ladies and gentlemen. Well, hey, that's good to see. Maybe we can maintain this structure and move towards the top side. Sure, we were talking about all these things anyway. We're kind of all good to go. Do you think it'll be reversal soon to flip bullish? Well, I mean, in terms of what time frame that you're looking at, in terms of the time frames that we're on, like here, the 24-hour time frame, this is just a pullback, and this isn't a reversal necessarily to flip bearish necessarily off of just yet. Although personally, like I said in the live stream, and I know now I never talk about my own trading, and I never will, but I said it in the live stream the other day, so it's public information already that I shorted 19k. I already talked about taking a short up in the 19,000s. So unless you'd already done that or whatever, then you're talking about managing your trade, and it's a different thing, and looking for exits and all the rest of it, which I've already done some of. But if you are looking to flip bullish on this, then it's a bit of a funny statement because we flipped bullish on this back in March. Was when we flipped bullish, and we haven't really flipped bearish yet since, despite the fact that at least in terms of frequency, I've probably shorted this more than I've longed it throughout this period. But that's by virtue of the fact that you only have to long it once, right? Kinda, to be and then be right. So wee. So anyway, yeah, so naturally you'd be looking towards those moves. Moving up above this 600, above 17k is what I said earlier on, right? It's what I said earlier on. There was the three numbers. I started with this 17, 16, well, it was four numbers, right? Really, 16.5, 16, and 15.5, right? Those are our numbers that we're looking at, and and we're above 17 at the minute, which is the sort of the 236, and yeah, that would be your point, and that was kind of what I was making the point of earlier on. I mean, it's not a good it's not a good trade in terms of any way of looking at it in terms of crystal balling, but in terms of being able to have an area where you can actually manage your risk, it's a good trade. And there only is one type of good trade, and that's one where you've got the area to manage your risk, and everything else is just vanity, right? So yeah, you've got a really good trade opportunity here. That's it. There's only one thing that qualifies something as a good trade opportunity. Can you manage your risk? Yeah? Cool. Is it easy to manage your risk around there? Yeah, easy. Good opportunity. So there would be your opportunity. You could do that any time, of course, depending on how you plan on how you view the market. I'm just trying to hear your spirit guide. It's looking bullish, man. Yeah, it is, JJ. Thanks so much for saying that, JJJ. You got that hamster working in the... Oh, yeah, sorry. I've read some of these ones are old and some of them not so much. I'll have to scroll on right down past the Thanksgiving chat. Thanks so much, by the way, 3,000 trend again for your cool chat. K-Doc, peace out, King. Somebody's tuned out, I suppose. Right. Oh, yeah, cool. Nice one, Kevin. Catch you later. Thanks very much for tuning in. Yeah. It's Scotland Yard's in England. Yeah. That's Scotland. Yeah, it's that wee bit. It's in exactly north of England. Yeah, exactly. Totally. Crypto God says, I just listened to your voice. Oh, cool. Well, that's cool. It's kind of like a radio show, like a podcast. It doesn't really. It's not so good whenever I say here, is it? But at least I say numbers from time to time. I do get told by people, useful, constructive tips on how to be better presentation, and if there's something that I could do that would help you to enjoy the episodes while not actually watching the screen, then be sure to help me, because I think that's a massively untapped potential for me there. Movie extra. Oh, you were a movie extra in you're in Trainspotting 2 and Princess Switch 2 on Netflix. Also being killed in Outlander with a big sword. Wow, awesome, man. Send me the details about how you get these gigs, right? And I mean, I've got hair, so I could go on Outlander and get killed by a big sword as well, right? I could do that for a laugh. It'd all be good to be like just go in there and be all like, oh look, I just got out my Highlander, my Chukter sleeping bag, Ken, and I've got hair and I'm and stuff like that. Blah. Cool. I would do that. I would also do any of the other ones. Train Spotting 2 though, man, I'd have liked to. You were in that. Wait a minute. Did you respond to that message that went out about if you want to be an extra in Train Spotting 2, get yourself down to the Cavendish nightclub in Edinburgh? Because was that one? Because that was one of the ones. In fact, I was meant to be at that, but I wasn't, or was I? You'd think I'd remember. I'm going on the basis that I think I would remember if I was in a train spotting. If I was in Train Spotting 2. No, I don't think I made it out that night. I think I got drunk somewhere else. Whatever. Cool. Going to scroll on down a wee bit. Let me know about how you became so famous, though. As for Binance, I sent you the link a few days ago. It is correct. Oh, you did. Oh, it is correct. All right, cool. There we go. Because I was just being, healthy skepticism, by the way. So yeah, it's correct. Everybody who's watching this from the USA that uses Binance USA, make sure you sort that detail out. Make sure you do. Rocky, please, before you go, what's your take on XLM? Oh, sorry, of course, yeah. I'll just get XLM up now. Stellar lumens, by the way, for anybody. What did I type in wrong? Right, cool, that'll do. This will be the last one that we do, though, right? And I'm sorry for having done that for having not said it earlier on. Hey, Tony, good to see you here. By the way, are we still live or have I missed it? Yeah, you're here, it's all good. Nice one. You've missed the charting. He's just talking now. Yeah, that was kind of what the chat was. Thanks very much. About to do some karaoke. Dance. Look forward to the dancing. Yeah, anyway, ETH450, hope it hits. ETH450, hope it hits. Yeah, I wonder. I do too. I actually kind of want this from the point of view of being positive about it in the longer term, right? I think we all do. We've all been feeling this. We need to have a pullback. We need to. And then it's like, we need it to be satisfying, cause somebody else out there an awful lot of pain. Not us, but really satisfy that pullback so that we can say, look, we've got the support, we're moving on now. Right, cool. Nice one. You should totally dress up as a Highlander. Yeah, totally. Cavendish was good crack. Oh, were you at that then? Then you were on that. Now I have an agent. You have an agent? What? And you were in the part of the Loyalist Club when they stole the wallets. Oh, hilarious. Oh, hilarious. That was brilliant. You must have had such a good time filming that. Getting told to sing along with that. That was so funny, that bit. I don't have a big bone in my body, so I watch those things and just think it's straight up hilarious. Great. Yeah, nice one. Right, no, it's normal Binance. It's the normal Binance. What are you talking about? I miss you, that crazy man. It's been busy on this end. Miss you too. I wonder why and what's going on with Binance. Yeah, they could lock it in like 10 days. What if you're in the US and if you're in the US, that's what it is. Bah. If you use regular Binance and you're in the US, you need to be using Binance.us. Get your crap off of Binance. And there's quite a few things that are listed on there now that weren't previously. That's the news. Cool. Nice one. Great. Before I get out, Coinbase Pro is disabling margin trading tomorrow. What? They're disabling what is Coinbase all about? It's so flippy floppy because it had it in the past, took it away, had it, took it away, had it, took it away. A lot of people, I suppose, are having to so you think as well that's why the pullback is greater. So a lot of people are having to presumably close their trades out that are margin, or they're having them closed on them, or maybe it'll even happen at a certain time. Be interesting to know if that's a thing as well, to kind of keep an attention for it. Presumably it'll happen at a round number time thing, like midnight on whatever time, and then trades could get closed and people could get dumped on that way, I suppose. So anyway, Binance, normal Binance in the US, GTFO. Okay, you're in the US, you're using normal Binance, GTFO now. If you're not from the stream, but from Binance, okay. If you're using Binance US, that's cool. But there's that issue, so make sure you do it in the next 10 days because you've only got that time. And then I suppose they could just have every right to nick your money or something. So yeah, be cool. Coinbase is better as like a bank, not a trading platform. I agree, to be honest with you, by the way. I trade there from time to time, but not like trading really, more like kind of, like, well, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's trading. No, I don't really trade there. And yeah, it's good. It's more like it's good as a bank and stuff like that. Also, by the way, if anybody wants to contribute crypto to the stream, Coinbase is where that crypto ends up for me. So there you go. That's another sort of another one of these things. No wonder. Imagine a margin trade all in riding Bitcoin up to 300k. Yeah, imagine it. Oof. Right. Okay. Anyway, I said XLM. I'm going to get on with that for my buddy Tony. Tony Quaz, by the way, Tony. If the other Tony is wondering what Tony I'm talking about, oh, shout outs need to be mentioned here. Neil, Neal Waring. I wonder if that's Neil Waring or if it's like Niall Varing or something like that. I don't know. I'm not going to be good at pronouncing names. I'm not Mr. Name Pronouncer. But yeah, good to have you here, buddy. I was looking at 20 to 30% pullback after touching all-time high, looking strong now. Well, you see, now that's the positive scenario, right? That's the positive case. If we were going to get, I'll go to XLM in just a second, sorry, just so I can wrap that up. But if we were to get a pullback that was to be of some sort of sense of satisfaction, then around about 20% would have been good. Now, we didn't quite get 20%, and 20% would have taken us down to that 15,500 area, by the way, which is again why it's on this list of numbers, just confluence. Obviously, that's just making itself apparent now, but it doesn't strike me as a coincidence. But anyway, but now we're back above this 236. You're getting positive. That's cool. We don't have anything like in terms of small time frames to get super excited about, other than perhaps the bullish divergence between these 2 points here on the 50-minute time frame. Bearing in mind that this then came in with a hidden divergence top here if it does not break past this. So this needs to not be a local high. If this turns out to be a local high, then it sucks in terms of the small term time frame stuff. So that's just in terms of the here and now. Let's take a look at Binance US is not available in all the states in the US. There we go. If you're in the US and you're still using Binance.com and not Binance US, either move to Binance US now and just deal with any extras that you've got cryptocurrency wise, put them into cold storage, sell them, whatever it is, but move your assets away from the exchange. Okay, just do that. Now, if you're not able to use Binance US because you're in one of those states, then move it to cold storage, move it to wherever. Just make sure you know what you're doing there on that front. Gemini, for instance, you could move over to Gemini. You could use it for Kraken. Kraken. Plenty of options out there. I maybe even have some affiliate links in my description for something that you can use. I don't know. Check it out. I'm not massive on affiliate link stuff. It'd be cool if somebody who wanted to become like a stream moderator who could maybe do that if that's a thing. I don't know if you can get like stream moderators to like tell people, by the way, check out Rocky's link. I don't know. Anyway, we'll check that out in the future. Stellar. There we go, buddy. There we go. I've made it to Stellar at last. By the way, if anybody does super chat stuff and whatever, then I would respect that contribution to the channel and try and get around to doing things quicker. But if on the other hand, if I just took and this is me kind of planning ahead, because when there's like 10 million subscribers to the channel, it's just going to be message, and I won't be able to deal with it at the time. But for now, it's cool and all that. Right, whatever. Right, well, look, and initial impressions, same sort of story to what we've seen on the other charts so far in this little round robin look. I'm going to get rid of this thing. Don't really need it on the charts there. So this is the same sort of story in terms of just a few little things, right? I've hidden the volume for ages. Maybe you want to have that back on now. It's diminishing as we go down here, right? So that's good in a sense that this isn't like picking up the trend volume. So we'll just hide it again. This is the 15-minute chart. Looking here, we can see ding dong, ding dong. So bullish divergence between these lows. Nice. Bullish divergence. Yeah, it's everywhere. The bullish divergence, in a sense, then, between these lows here could have made you think along the lines earlier on had you been kind of thinking along... I've got the magnet tool on, so it makes it harder to do these after the fact. You could have been thinking along the lines of maybe having some sort of wedge on the go in this area, 1, 2, 3 touches towards the downside. I don't know, whatever. Maybe you were thinking along those lines. Then what's ended up happening is we came in and put in a lower high, so that wasn't so great overall. But we then put in another low thereafter, and this low yet again this low was the divergent low, but this was also divergent before. Bullish divergence and a wedge, whatever, broke out, but didn't actually get a measured move, came down, put in another low, 3 instances of bullish divergence. That's good to see. So positioning wise, we're in a downward trend right now. This taking out this high, by the way, here with this high, I don't think is a higher high. That's too early. We need to take out this high, so we've not quite achieved that yet, and that's going to be 17 cents for us, really. So we've not got to that stage where we can really fully embrace the positivity quite yet, but we are looking pretty good in a number of ways in terms of the ability to counter trend trade this. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, that on this particular time frame. Yeah, we are looking good for this. On this particular time frame, this is an upward... on this particular time frame, this is an upward trend from, say, here in September. But, from March, just like everything else. Upward from March, sorry. But in terms of this small time frame, we're in a downward trend here. So I was looking at these lows for bullish divergence, looking at these highs for hidden bearish divergence, of which there is some, by the way. I should probably point that out. For instance, here and here, you can see that this is a high. This is a lower high. This is that high. This is its lower high, which has got a higher RSI. So you can see there's that divergence there. That's bearish. So until such times as we take out this zone, I'm not massively positive, but we are really positioned really, really well. Right at the time when I said, yeah, we are. And I kind of confirmed that after drawing in the Fibonacci, because, easy to manage risk trades are all you need to be successful, is to know that a good trade isn't one that makes you tons of money, isn't one that had the best price point. It wasn't the one that got on at the very, very bottom or the very, very top. They're not the best trades. The best trades are the ones that you went into knowing what you would do if it went against you. That's the good trade. Everything else takes care of itself. Honestly, if you just focus on the risk management, everything else will take care of itself. In fact, I focus on risk management, and people think that I've got a crystal ball and I can predict the future. But I focus on risk management, and despite focusing on risk management, I still call most of the moves, whatever. Who cares? I don't care anyway. I'm the one talking about it, so you think that I would care, but I don't. So there's your move. It takes you up towards your 618. That's where your stop loss would be, roughly positioned at about 15.7, something like that, if you're looking to trade this up the way. Now, of course, that's quite greedy, and if you're trading on leverage, you might be looking at things from a sort of smaller term point of view, smaller time frame point of view, and you might be thinking to yourself that really, that going past the 382 at this point might be a bit greedy. Maybe we see a pullback there. Maybe we, get another chance to go in and out. Depends on how often and your frequency of your trades on this one. But if you are trading like that, then you're looking at possibly getting stopped out. For instance, if we just take out the wick of this previous candle over here, would be enough to stop you out on that of a trade. But that's okay, and you can do these things. That would be my initial first impressions, right? But I'm going to do this justice because the guy asked and then I made him wait. Sorry, Tony, I made you wait. I didn't want to make you wait. Let's put on a couple of easy things, right? First off, we'll go to the 4-hour time frame and we'll take a look at the 4-hour pivot points, right? This is just a thing that gets generated so that it makes my job easier. They don't necessarily tie in with the ones that I personally would necessarily be using, but this is interesting to see that this here is kind of saying that we've come up past resistance 3, and really, the pivot point remains down here in the market at this previous low over here. I think that's a fair enough thing to say, that this low here was just an inflection along the way, or just a flux along the way, and not a true inflection point in the market. Nevertheless, if we take out that 15.5 area, where your stop would kind of be at, from what we discussed as well in terms of this hypothetical trade, then of course you're looking at having taken out that, and you'd be looking for your next area down the way. Other things as well to kind of tie in with this is from the topside move. Now initially I thought this was an upward trend since September, but it's been March. But the reason I thought that was because we came in with significant lows here, and this is where I would draw in one from here. So let's just do this justice. Team Justice to the rescue. And zooming on in, put the numbers on the right. I want you to be able to see the numbers, but I also want to be able to see the numbers and blah, blah, blah. Put them on the right over here and hide this other guy. Don't need it, remove it in fact. Hide the pivots, don't really need them either. Then the 236 was coming in there at 18,910. We've done the 50% retrace. That's this line here. You can see the numbers on the right-hand side of the screen where the chat box would normally be. And then down there towards the golden pocket there, that's your next area that you'd be looking to. If you were to kind of continue this on down the way. And that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, when you think about where the pivot points were kind of coming in at in terms of like a potential target. Let's then as well look at the Bollinger Bands. We need to take out that median one. That kind of ties in fairly nicely, I suppose, with taking out those 17 area. That's 17 is going to be a challenge for us. Previous highs in that area, if we were to go down a time frame, you'd see that. We talked about it already. This most recent of high on this candle has come in with being hidden bearish divergence on the small time frames. So looking at that area, need to push past that, because that hidden bearish divergence would of course no longer exist if we put in an actual higher high. It would just be convergent at that point, right? That would be a good thing. And obviously we're miles away from putting in a swing failure because of the fact that we've got bearish divergence, potentially hidden bearish divergence precludes any potential for swing failure on that front. Esoteric, yes, read the book by Jay Wilder, and then other stuff, Google it. Looking here then, that's your area, that's the Bollinger Band, but down on the lower term time frames, not done it, nothing special. This is obviously just ties in nicely with that hypothetical trade idea. This is the issue here. We need to start tracing this towards the top side, or else it's just not looking very good. The Bollinger Band needs to trace towards the top side, because going any further down and retesting this median line would put this in here as a local high, and of course then you've got that hidden bearish divergence quite distinctly on the go in this 5-minute time frame. Or the 15-minute time frame. What else do we want to look at? Do we want to look at? Let's do some more on this. The VPVR. Now this is over on the left because I needed to put it on the left because it was blocking stuff up. Pardon me. Yep, that's 17 area up to 17.8. Go up to 18. Cool, we're back into this different phase. 17, there's a drop off in volume in terms of trading down the way towards that 17 number. 17 is going to be important for us. That's just a number, obviously. Going on down past 15, massive drop off as we know. Obviously, I'll just go back a bunch, making that the pivot point again, tying in nicely again. So I wouldn't want to be long in this past 15. And the last thing I'll do, and this is running in, after I've done this, I'm going to flick over to doing chitty chat with everybody. Kaitho88, great to have you here, buddy. Nice one. If there's anybody who's here who hasn't had a shout out from me, put a comment in there. I'll give you a shout out, no problem. Kaitho88, great to have you here. I think I've got most people. Bruno Talagini, sorry mate, Bruno Taulegini. Wow. That's going to be one of the hardest names to say. I'll just copy your name and put it on the chart so that everybody can enjoy. Or I'll just type it in. This is the name that I'm trying to read out. Bruno. That's the easy part. The hard part is Tauleigne. Right, there you go. Everybody at home can enjoy the same problem that I'm having, trying to give a shout out to somebody. So I'll do a write out instead. How about that? And apologies to Andy. Oh, the Garden Prophet. Nice to have you here, Brandon. Good to see you, matey. Nice one. Good to have you. Yeah, great. Cool. Excellent stuff. Right, I'm going to check in with I was going to put the moving averages on. I'm going to put the moving averages on here. Look at this for a couple of seconds. Let me know, Tony, how you're feeling about this technical analysis. Oh, Kaitho88, you just subscribed. Check it out, everybody. His name on the screen. How fun is that? That's fantastic. Thanks so much for subscribing. I really enjoy it. I'm quite new to this whole live streaming thing, by the way. So that's just fantastic. That's just totally brilliant. It's good to see it. It's so obviously, 2,000 subscribers. It's not. I've experienced the joy of seeing a subscriber turn up before, but seeing them on the screen, and this is going to take a while before that gets old. I tell you, quality. Thank you so much. Anybody else who wants to subscribe as well, you'll equally make me just as delighted. Rocky, you got to get the plant back in there. I want to make sure he's getting water. Yeah. You can see. Can you see just here? But you're right. Need to make sure that it's getting water, especially because my screen here makes it so hard to see. If I just kind of hide that, maybe the dynamic range will let you see. Now you can't really see it. Sorry, buddy. Kenny Flatten, Excellent. Nice one. A new name. Good to have you here, Kenny. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to read your comment out in a minute, but I'll get round to that in the second. What you're talking about, by the way, is whether or not Ethereum is consolidating or could move further down. Invitations go out to everybody to give the guy an answer, right? Kevin King, by the way, earlier on says, if you've got a VPN, who cares, right? Personally, I don't know. I don't know. I don't need to use a VPN to access any of these things. In fact, you know what? From time to time, I go on an exchange, and I've got my VPN because I have a VPN. Not this channel's not sponsored by NordVPN. Shall we make it so it's let's do it live together, right? I'll come back and I'll do your Fibonacci or your moving averages in a second, mate. What's the one that everybody uses? I use NordVPN, so that'll be a good one. Let's do this here together, everybody. NordVPN affiliate. I'll just go and find the website and get one of these things, and then I'll start saying to everybody, oh, and a shout out to our sponsor, NordVPN, or I could do ExpressVPN. I suppose ExpressVPN must pay better since more people use that. So I'll do this in the meantime. Yeah, I use NordVPN. I'll fill this out some other. I'll not do it actually in the middle of the live stream because that's insane. But yeah, sometimes I go on an exchange myself and I've got NordVPN running in the background, and I think it says, especially if I'm in the US or something, I think, oh no, now I'm going to get banned from the exchange because I used a VPN and went, and I think, stress. So, but yeah, you're right. And if anybody's from the USA wants to use a VPN so that they can essentially change their location in the world and effectively trade from elsewhere, then cool. There's another method, by the way, that you can use, which is whereby you set up a company, a limited company in the European bloc. One of the cheapest places to do it in terms of then accounting for your tax thereafter is Estonia. So if you want to go ahead and set up a company in Estonia and then route your trading, in fact, I think you can even get away without using a VPN at that stage, because technically it's not you that's trading, it is your company that's trading, and of course it's a legal entity of its own right, and it exists in Estonia, and you're just managing it coincidentally from America. So I think that's a legal workaround for you guys as well if you want to do it legally and still be in the States. Personally, wouldn't bother with any of that, too much hassle. Instead, I just wait till I get an affiliate link and use the VPN thing. Lol, just kidding. I would never, because that's breaking the rules. I wouldn't break the rules. I'm not crazy. We've got a super chat coming in here. What is it? Saint Resins, rated $4.99. What's up, Chainlink? Oh, what's up with Chainlink, brother? Cool. Well, we'll take a look at that in a second. I will honor Tony by actually doing the Fibonacci's or the moving averages on here. I'll get back to that in a second. And by the way, thank you so much, Saint, for joining us here. Saint Resin, really great. Do I recognize your avatar? I feel like that's maybe a picture of somebody famous. Is it? I think I recognize it. Fantastic. Yeah, great. Anyway, if you want to hit that subscribe button, by the way, Saint Resin, I'd really appreciate it, because your name will come up on screen and it makes me smile like a big giddy kid. I'm going to stick on these things for us, right? Where are we talking here? Moving averages. And I just want to look at the small term ones and, of course, these two big ones, right? So we had this death cross over here, tested the 50. It would be nice to see it test the 200. Simple. This, of course, often happens, even if it's going to keep trending down the way. I'd look out for failures in terms of movements towards the top side and pushing past any of this. If we try that and then don't succeed, that might be of an interesting thing for you, but that's just the 15-minute time frame, and of course that really doesn't add up to very much. Over here in the 4-hour time frame, we're seeing that the movement towards the top side that we've had, look at that, that's quite nice in terms of the 4-hour candle, and where it's come to. Comes in and tests both of these moving averages. Now, that's just a simple test. It's the first time we've tested it really since breaking down below it. I want to see us then come up, test it again, break it, move it towards the top side. They've not crossed yet. That's good. We're not a million miles away from being able to prevent that from happening. So in terms of the trend, we're looking okay, given that over the the longer term, and this is still not very long. This is only the 36 and the 54 period exponential moving averages I've got on here. So we're still about, the 36 is still curving towards the top side, so is the 54, but this is the two shorter term ones are curving towards the downside on the 4-hour time frame. Now in the 24-hour time frame, you can see that despite the fact that we've come down here, we've only actually managed to come down as far as that 8 exponential moving average. I'm going to have to move your name, sorry, Bruno. I'll delete it so you don't feel embarrassed. I don't know how you pronounce your name though, that was the point I was making. Yeah, so we came down here towards the 8 exponential period moving average, and we're finding that acting as support for us now on the 24, and all of these have then therefore managed to preserve their upward slope, crazy as that may seem. Apart from maybe perhaps here, maybe it looked like it was going to start sloping down, but then it didn't, and it went towards the top side. So that's really good to see, and all of that is, of course, positive. Question marks come into play if we start to see a head and shoulders evolve on the charts here. Could see this on the RSI. Sometimes they are precursors towards perhaps an Adam and Eve on the actual price action. So I'd keep an eye out for something like that happening. And then if I zoom back out a bit again here and take a look, the 12-hour just got a golden cross there a few days ago there. So where's the 24 positioned? Oh, boom. Nice one. So we've just had this golden cross happen. Now, is it feasible to think that we could come back in and retest this area? Unfortunately, it actually is. It actually is. And that kind of ties in probably with... It probably kind of ties in with what we were looking at. Let me just get up a Fibonacci here for this sort of demonstration of this. This is all done on a basis of probabilities, by the way, when I talk about things. Yes, but there you can see that it ties up fairly nicely in terms of where we could be going over the next few days. If we come back down to test either of these two moving averages, maybe we're looking at the 618 golden pocket being retested at that time, and then us coming up here and, of course, doing 2 for 1 on that if we see a negative trend emerge thereafterwards. So that's kind of what I would look to in terms of the broader picture. In terms of, the fact is we've had a golden cross here, very, very good, speaks to the long-term trend. But just a quick reminder to everybody, golden crosses often then, golden cross here, what did we see? We tested the 50. What did we see? We tested the 200. Continue to trend towards the top side. After test, we had the golden cross here, right? And the price action had to drop down 30% to test that. 30% price action move to test this. Huge, right? But ultimately, from the point of the cross, if you just traded it from the cross, so around about here, it went on up to the top side and made 70% profit towards the top side, including during that period a 30% retracement towards the downside. That kind of sums up in lots of ways what we're looking at with the potential for in terms of these big cap coins like Bitcoin as well. Hope that's good for you, Tony. Gonna leave it to that, and then I am going to go on over to you could be an auctioneer. God damn, says Kenny Flatten. Hey, Rudy Cervantes, good to have you here. Fantastic. Rocky, what's your lowest cap hold? I'll come back to all the chit chat in the sort of on the end screen whenever we're tuning out. By the way, for everybody, and hit that subscribe, like button, all that shit. Thanks so much. But for now, what's your lowest cap hold? Hard to say because you really need to recheck in on these things, don't you, to find out. I mean, it would have been Coty, right? When I first got Coty, would have probably have been it at the time. Hard to say, really hard to say. Could be like one coin, could be whatever. Don't know. Glad you got some value from that, Tony. I mean, this is what we do here. 1,000 goods traders are going to be in this environment soon. If I can do anything to help contribute towards people's success, then all that's going to do in the long term really is just come back to help every single other person, because what we're doing here is creating a community from the ground up. We don't have any lunatics in it so far. None at all. Like, not a single one. So we're doing pretty good, right? Let me just bring it up. What was it that the person wanted me to see? What was it? Oh, it's a super chat. Sorry. Oh, sorry. What's up with Chainlink, brother? Right, well, two things. You'll be able to see us looking at Chainlink earlier on in the video again. So whenever we've finished up here, you can take a look at it, by the way. You've got a couple of things on the go. One of them is that you've got this flux happening in about here in terms of the Bitcoin pairing, right? Where you have this as you can see with the drawings on here, it's kind of between in this zone here. Now, this isn't some sort of pointing left triangle thing that you should use to do technique. That isn't a pattern or anything like that. Don't get confused looking at this. I explained all of that earlier on in the video as well when I was chatting about it. But what we're doing here is really trying to find our feet. It's difficult for it, and it has dropped down. In fact, when did it do that? Did it do that just there now, really? No, it's before the stream. Good stuff. But what we're finding ourselves is that we're actually positioned in terms of this Fibonacci retracement. Let me zoom back out again. That we've got this, that we're positioned below the 236, right? And the 236 is coming in there at 88k in terms of the Bitcoin pairing. Now I know you probably want to look at the dollar pairing, and of course that's going to be the main thrust of this little bit of chat as well anyway, and I will in a second, but I'm starting off here in the Bitcoin one so that it's not like, so no stone left uncovered. And we have this green sort of doji candle coming in here at the minute, giving us a couple of questions to be answered about whether or not we're going to find support in here. A bit of indecision, but that is off the back of a massive rejection, sort of bullish candle towards the top side here in terms of this rejection of that wick. Maybe we see some good times happening. The real target for us, and in order to start getting positive on this thing, is to see closes up above that 88k area. As you can see up here, we did try that previously, and in terms of where the price action's been, and that's coming in at this resistance point, blah blah blah. But it's not good enough until we get closes at a decent level, a decent time frame. Even looking up here in the 1 hour, it didn't even manage to do that. We're talking about nothing. So that's 88k for us, and if we see that, then that's positive, because one or two things could be happening at the time. Bitcoin could be going up, or it could be going down. If Bitcoin's going up, then it means the dollar price is compounded by that, and it's doubly good. If it's going down, then it means that if Bitcoin price is going down, then it means that at least the dollar price is managing to maintain itself, right? So with that said, moving over towards the dollar pairing and checking in, we can see that we came down, we did a 50% retracement from the high that we had. In terms of looking at this on the 1 hour time frame, going from the low, let me just go to the 24-hour here and clear this up a bit. I mean, I've already talked about this a couple of times, so now it's got radically messy. The thing is that we're having this, we had this period here where we came up and we rose up towards the top side as the market rose up, and we came up and we hit this area here, which is a pink line, which if I scroll over to the left, you can see it happens to be the 414 Fibonacci retracement point, again, funnily enough. And somebody said earlier on, could we see that with Ethereum? Oh, my bell rang. I'll be back in a second, right? Back in a second. Hello? I can't. It's me. Pardon? Massively inconvenient. It looks like I'm going to actually have to go. I'm really sorry to not be able to do in-depth technical analysis on this one at the minute, right now, buddy. Really sorry about this, but I'm going to actually have to go here. So that's frustrating. But yeah, okay, what's happening with it is that we've done this retrace and we've come back down and tested various other areas. Part of this has been coming into this parallel channel again, and that's been a bit of hassle for us. We could, if we do see prices going down, look towards that $11 area as being maybe an Alamo. My personal one is 10.33. If we see prices moving towards the top side, we've got a couple of targets in mind. First off, coming in there at sort of 12, 13 bucks area, and 12.70 in the meantime in terms of finding support. We haven't managed to find that support at 12.70, and we have our targets on we've got targets on here talking about 12.70, 12.20, 11.70, 11 would be your downside targets. All of them are actually offering up decent rebuy entries at the minute. We are looking for the overall markets to obviously take up as well. That would be quite good to see. I'd rather see this go up in dollar value and Bitcoin value and race Bitcoin towards the top. But if it can maintain itself in the face of a pullback, that's going to be okay as well. And yeah, we had a bit of an inflection here in this liquidity zone just as we took our highs. And there's a couple of other little dynamics, which we've talked about earlier on in the show. Hopefully somebody else can give you a wee bit of chat. Nice to see other people joining us along here just as I'm tuning out. Paul Howard, good to have you here. By the way, real stream, real life, all this stuff, this is just what it is. Sorry, I'm going to have to go right now. As you saw, the bell rang a couple of minutes ago and somebody's standing outside on the street. Going to have to get my shit together. Thanks so much. Really appreciate, there's the bell ringing again. Really appreciate you tuning in. Really, really do. Been fantastic. I'm going to leave the charts up on the screen, but I'm going to tune out for a while. So this is going to be kind of going. It's just have this message up saying cheerio, thanks for tuning in. Everybody, likes, subscribe, everything, appreciate it loads, comments, share it with friends, Twitter button, all that, Facebook, good stuff. Cheers, salute, thanks very much. By the way, love you all, I really do. I would say bye-bye individually, I would, but I gotta go. Okay, see ya.